All right. So let's just backtrack a little bit. So we said our
Yes.
definition of perfection is
Yes.
a state of being or a condition or a circumstance from which, if we had the power to change anything at all, we would not. All right.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
we have total power, and we it's going to be perfect when we don't change anything. So when we look at the universe and the world and the way it works, and we say, wait a second, if I believe in God or I believe in Allah or any deity, any superpower, and I believe that they are truly powerful and also truly good, and well, okay, that doesn't necessarily mean they're wise, but let's assume they are wise also. Let's assume that everything is that they have. We have to believe that the world we are in now is perfect because they have the
Yes.
power to change anything at all, right?
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah.
And since they don't
Yeah.
change it, that
But
means it has to be perfect. Yeah. All right.
yes, but
So
still, there are two types of perfection now we are discussing. First is we as human, as a privileged species,
uh-huh.
we are talking about in our abilities, and perfection with belongs to deity, the divine sources, the
Deity, right,
superpowers,
right,
yes, deities and all that.
right.
So there are two types of perfection we are discussing at the same
Yeah,
time, because
they're
we
related,
have,
exactly.
yeah, yes, they are related, but they are also different because we have some limitations.
Right,
So,
right. But
yes, we
right,
have
right. But
limitations.
there's a perfection in our limitations
Yes,
also.
yes,
Because
yes,
through our limitations they force us to learn, which is perfect.
yeah,
Right. So it depends that we have to look at perfection as it's in its context, right? There's
hmm,
contextual perfection. So we're saying, but I want to finish my other point that I was going to say, right?
yes,
When we assume
yes,
that, whether we assume there's a deity or not, doesn't matter. Just for our own sake, let's assume that
yes,
the universe, the world, is perfect the way it is. Now we're going to say how, in what context is it perfect? And if we look at this a little bit in detail, we say, well, it's actually perfect as a school for the development and enhancement of awareness. And why is it
yeah,
perfect? Because if we were to set this up, we would say, wait a second, you know what, we're going to set up a system where awareness starts from zero and grows itself. It has to.
yes,
It can't do
yes,
anything else. That's the step one. So we have to also set up a system then, in other words, where you can choose freely, where you can make mistakes or not, where you can learn from the mistakes of others as well, because that helps awareness as well, right? So
yes,
therefore, you end up, when you put those two things which are unchangeable, right? Now you have the consequence from that, which is, well, you've got goodness and you've got badness and you've got all the crap and nonsense and you've got all the awesomeness. It all depends. Plus, we want to say, we want to go a little bit further, right? We want to really make this perfect. So we say, what if we can make all the 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 bad stuff, the mistakes, right? All the if we can make that valuable. So we say, okay, we can make that to be good, not necessarily always nice, but good, right? And between good and nice, well, I have to always choose good. If hopefully I can get them both, but if not, I can say at least from the not niceness there can be goodness. So all the not niceness in our system, we're going to make it into lessons, right?
hmm,
How is that not a
hmm,
perfect system? When we look at
yeah,
it this way and we say, you know what, everything is a lesson. Okay. And we say, if this is a perfect system, that means that the system is set up and geared towards, and it's a perfect system for learning, right? And learning awareness. That means the system is going to reward me if I deliberately make the effort to learn, right? If I consciously choose, then I'm going to be learning and it's going to be good and nice because I want the learning, I like the learning, I'm looking for the learning, and you're going to do exactly what happened to Beena. Beena manifested good and nice learning, right?
hmm,
Because
yes,
you are ahead of the curve. You're not saying, you know what, you got a lesson that came your way and you're just like, I'm not, yeah, whatever. You didn't have that kind of attitude to it. And then the universe came and said, Beena, you got to learn this. And you said, yeah, whatever. And you just ignored it. And then the universe came and said, hey, Beena, you really, really got to learn this. And, for people who don't learn, what happens? The universe comes and gives them a smack upside the head or a kick up the ass, or something happens to them that says, wake up, you got to learn this stuff, right? You see
yes,
it
yeah,
all the time. But you're not like that. You're saying, I want to learn myself. I want to be ahead of the game. I'm looking, I'm going further. So what do? You get nice learning, right?
Yes.
Learning's
Yes.
always good, but you got nice and good. You manifested something where you can learn,
Yes.
really, really,
I'm
really
proud of
learn.
it. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
exactly, right, exactly, exactly. And you want to learn, and that's the system. If we want to learn, then learning is fun, learning is joyful, learning is nice. Because when we look at it
Always.
too, we've also designed our system. And what's the most ideal and the most perfect way to learn? Play. Very simple. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, hello, we've got a system that's designed around play, of learning being joyful and fun and easy. And that's what play is. And what we do, as far as I'm concerned, it's play, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's
It,
profound play,
it,
but I mean it's a profound game, but it's still, it's the ultimate type of play for me, but
yes.
that's really what it is. So when we look at this now, we get back to our point of perfection. It's like, man, when I look at the world in this way, it's all perfect. Now, there's more things, right? We say when we look at the way the world and the universe works, and we look at our learning, when things come our way, right, that's obviously a learning mechanism. We also got to understand that learning, it's there for us specifically, intimately, precisely what we need. Now, sometimes when we look at around us and we say, you know what, okay, I need to learn, but I don't really know what I need to learn, right? Because my learning, in like we said before, what I know is the known. What I need to learn is the unknown, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but the unknown is a very big place. So I can't just say, well, if I just venture into the unknown, I'm going to learn stuff, but I might learn stuff that's not particularly pertinent and relevant to me, that I don't specifically need to learn. Because
Yes.
there's so much to learn. I want to learn what I personally, absolutely, specifically need to learn.
Yes.
And so in our
And this is
perfect
very
system,
big
we
thing.
say, okay, how are
This
we,
is something really important.
I say again?
This is something really, really important.
Oh, it's very
No.
critical. We're coming to a
Yes.
key point, and it's a word I have not yet used.
Okay.
It's for the last part of the course, but we're going to jump there now because of this conversation, and we'll get back to it later on. But I have to bring it in because of the thing. So, to continue with what I'm saying, this is very critical. Yes, a huge, 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 massive point. So I say, okay, how do I connect to what I specifically need to learn? Now we look at this from our perfection thing. We say we're designing this perfect school. So, all right. So we have to figure out a way in which we can connect the learner, the student of life. We can connect them to what they specifically need to learn, right? What's pertinent and relevant to them, what's intimately so. So we say, okay, what we're going to do is when they have a need, like when something's, when something's inside, is like, like your thought about happiness. Remember that
Yes.
was something
Yes.
that was inside of you. It was kind of boiling around in there. You were thinking
Yes.
about it. Was on your mind. Was in your awareness. You're like, okay, so I said, okay, we're going to take that pressure and we are going to connect it. Find a mechanism that will connect it to the world. And the way we can do this is through anomalies. What is anomaly?
Oh
Anything that will
yeah.
attract your attention. So we say when you've got something on your mind like that, right? You tend to be going inside yourself. You're running in your own little world, and your
Yes.
your your awareness bubble tends to be shrink a little bit, right?
Yes. Yes.
So we say,
Yes.
all right, so we need something that will catch your attention, that will bring you out of that bubble and make you think beyond yourself. Because obviously you're not finding the answers inside your bubble, you need to look outside
Yes.
yourself. So we
Yes.
say we're gonna set up our learning mechanism to have something that will catch your attention. And what catches our attention? The unusual, the odd, the weird, the strange, the different, the unexplained, the impossible. That stuff that really catches our attention, right? When we see something,
Yes.
whoa, oh, how the hell did that work? Like, what the hell's going on here? That's pretty crazy. That's wild. And that is precisely what an anomaly is. All right. Now, in the old days, they
Yes.
used to call them signs or omens or whatever like that. And I try not to use those words because they've become corrupted and people misunderstood the mechanism. They thought when they saw an omen and it meant something to them personally, they assumed it means the same every time and for everyone. No, it doesn't. It means whatever is necessary for it to mean at that point in time relative to what is going on inside you. Right?
Oh.
So it's the omens and the signs, or in other words, the anomalies, are about exquisite, intimate, pertinence, and relevance. Yeah. So you're taking notes, I hope, yeah?
No, not right now.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why I asked you recording because
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just listening to
If
you.
you're gonna take notes from the recording, that's even better. No problem.
Yes,
All right.
yes,
That's good.
because
That's good.
this
Okay.
time I just want to listen to you.
Okay. No problem. So when we look at anomalies, now we have to say, you know what? We're going to say in a different way when we design our system of perfection. We're saying
Yeah.
anomalies. We are going to use a different mechanism for the conveyance of learning, because words and specificness, preciseness of language is not always enough to get the fullness of what we can do. So we can pack this powerful information, right? It just, there's a whole lots of things we need to typically learn, and we can pack it all into how do we condense a huge amount of information. We can do so symbolically, right? Through symbolism and metaphor, right? Because when we look at something that's symbolic or metaphorical, the implications and all of that pulls from it, it is a different way of comprehending and connecting to things. So if I see this whatever, this anomaly, and I say, what does this represent to me? And I say, wow, I mean, like I remember I had an anomaly, for instance, one where I literally, somebody, they moved out to the house next door to us, and they left behind this basket of eggs, and then the basket is big, it's, I guess, like
Oh,
bigger than my head, wide. There must have
yes.
been 2 or 3 dozen eggs in it, but it's like a
Oh,
wire basket, and they say,
okay.
don't
Okay.
put
Yes.
all
Yes.
right, don't put all your eggs in a basket. I never seen that before. I never ever seen that before, but it was really
Yeah.
odd because it's not like they left behind a bunch of stuff, and it's a very unusual thing to leave behind. It was right on the counter where you can clearly see it, so it's very strange that they left it behind. So unless somebody, maybe they didn't leave it behind. I'm just thinking now, maybe somebody brought it to and left it there. That, and after they'd left, I don't know, thinking they're going to come back or something. I don't know. It's very interesting. So it's just this anomaly of the eggs in the basket. But now, when I see that in the context of them moving out, this eggs in the basket, the home is open. That's why I went to go and look at it, because it's right next door to us. So we're just checking it out. So it is very, very anomalous. But symbolically, it's all your eggs in one basket, literally, right? And and
Yeah.
and so when you look at this symbolically, it's like, wow, I've got a metaphor here of all your eggs in the one basket. And usually it says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Obviously, because if you drop it and fall, and they'll all break. You want to
Yes. Yes.
spread your risk. But in this
Yes.
case, that would have been impractical, right? So for actual transport, if they're moving, it would be helpful to have all the eggs in one basket. But anyway, the point is that now you're looking at that and you're saying, well, symbolically, this is representing, you know, uh, the symbolicness of all your eggs in one basket. It's about commitment. It's about risk management. It's about strategy. It's about sensibility. I know all of that comes into it, right? So it didn't matter. I don't want to go into the whole point
Mm-hmm.
of that particular anomaly because it was connected to what was going on then. I'm trying to explain of how we look at an anomaly in a metaphoric way, symbolically, right? And we say, what does this mean to me? Let's say, for instance, you see a dove and it's flying in a really weird way and it's doing something peculiar and unusual and it's just drawing your attention. Okay, what does a dove symbolize? Well, to me, sometimes people say, oh, they symbolize love, or they symbolize peace, or, they symbolize freedom. For me, well, doves are pretty stupid. They can symbolize stupidity too, right? They're not particularly smart birds. I'm just saying there's a whole range of ways which you can interpret things. Yeah. So,
Yes.
they don't always be. So if I'm thinking about stupidity and I see this dove acting stupidly or acting weirdly, and well, it's all about stupidity, and that's okay, I get it now. I'm being stupid. Or the other. Or what? You see my point? It's about
Yes.
the anomalies are not.
Yes.
It's not a fixed interpretation, because
Yes.
symbolically we can see things in a whole range of symbolic ways. It connects to what's going on inside of us, and it's like that anomaly. It's like a clue, a suggestion, a hint, like a mystery that you've got to solve, because you don't want to be getting the answers directly. We're designing a perfect system, remember? And the perfect
Yes.
system is that we want to learn awareness for ourselves. So the anomalies are always just these clues, hints, suggestions, a tip, a guidepost, because they don't want to give you the full answers. You have to figure it out for yourself. That's the way they work, right? So, so when you connect that anomaly to what's going on inside you, okay, I get it now. All right, I see it. Okay, I got you. And then you put it together, you figure it out, and then you develop and enhance your awareness yourself. And the anomaly is just that little spark, that little trigger that said, hey, you know what? This is the path that you got to go into the unknown, and you follow the anomaly where that leads, and you explore the unknown in that area around the anomaly. And it's like, all right, that's the unknown I had to go into. You see, because there's all sorts of different unknowns, depending on how you interpret that anomaly. But the beauty of it is that because you can interpret things in such a whole bunch of different ways, you interpret according to what you need to know. And when you understand that it's a clue and a suggestion and a hint and a prompt and all that, then the whole system absolutely starts to make sense. Capital M, capital S makes sense. And when we understand that, wow, okay, now everything starts to make sense. Well, brilliant. You know what? I see the perfection of the universe now. It makes sense.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
people say, they're all stressed about death. How does death make sense?
Ah, interesting.
Death makes sense because it leverages us to pay attention, to do things now, to get off our asses and actually do stuff. Because energy, to spend energy, the natural state of energy, right? It's going to wants to conserve itself. So the natural tendency of energy is actually to be lazy
Yes.
and do nothing, essentially. That's
Yes.
it. So if we don't have death as this pressure or hunger, we'll basically just be these little blobs of energy that do bugger all. So so we need some pressure, right? And death
Yes.
and
Everybody needs
survival
that.
and the pressure of evolution, the pressure of needing to learn, the pressure of our emotions from a point of view. It's like, well, I want to be more joyful. That's kind of a pressure. Okay, so I'll make more effort to be more joyful. You see, so all of these things are pressures on us to do that. But death is the ultimate pressure to say, hey, you know what? There's more. Plus, the power and the excellence of death says, I don't want to just end there. I want it to be more. So it makes us very creative in imagining how things could be, how things could be more. And that's very
Yes.
powerful. So we end up creating the more through our desires and our intent, because that's the system ultimately that we're in, is a system where we energy, no, in E equal mc square, if you turn it around the other way, m is energy that's slowed down at the speed of light squared. M equals
Yes.
E
Yes.
divided by c squared. I think we went over this, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So basically, what we do as human beings, and Einstein said the same thing, and it's just part of physics, that matter is simply slowed down or coagulated or coalesced, energy. That's all it is.
Energy.
It's
Yes.
just energy, because literally, if you like heat up things, the molecules move very fast. When you slow them down, then they slow down. So that's all that matter is. It just slowed down energy. So the point is the mechanism that causes that slowing down. Consciousness, right? Awareness, consciousness. That's the mechanism that causes energy to coagulate into matter. So in other words, we the ones that basically describe and create our world. Now, if you look at Jesus's teachings, right? Specifically,
Yes.
Jesus teaches fluid reality all the time. He doesn't use the
Mm-hmm.
words fluid reality, doesn't mind, but doesn't matter. He teaches
Yes.
fluid reality every single time he performed a miracle. Every time he said,
Yes.
you got to do this. You need to do this. That was the point of the miracle. It wasn't the point of walking on water or feeding people with loaves of bread or that. The point of it wasn't the miracle in itself. Yes, sometimes, when it was like healing the sick or whatever, there was some other benefit to it. But the main purpose of it, from his point of view, from a teaching point of view, was to say, you can do this. You can also do this. You have the power to do this. You can literally move those mountains there, right there, right? He said, he was trying to make the point that we have the power to change actual reality, right? I mean,
Yes.
if you read his teachings again, every time that's it, every single time. So he's making this big point about fluid reality, in other words. All right. Now,
Yes.
now,
Yes.
now, we also have to understand, we have to have discernment. There's a flaw to Jesus's teachings because,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yes, people say, "Oh, that's heretical to say that," but nonetheless, I'll demonstrate why I say that. The the system, the perfect system, it gives you this clue and the insight. Everybody's had it in some way where they intended something and it came about. Pretty much every single person you've ever known has in some place in their life had that experience. They know this to be a possibility, right? It's why people believe in wishes and believe in prayers, and why they are superstitious, and they have all of that is based around the same concept and understanding that we can, through intent, through wish, through hope, through energy, through in some way we can change and alter physical reality, right? Everybody believes that in some way or another. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
yes, absolutely.
However, we don't have the power to do it as much as we'd like to do. Why?
Yes,
Now, we're designing our perfect system. That's the theme that we're on today. That's our center column,
yes.
right? We're on perfection. Why is it that we do not have this power? Why are we designing a system to say, you know what? Yes, the system is fluid. It can change according to you and your energy. It is actually your consciousness does determine it. You can change it. But we're going to make it difficult for you to do so. Why? Because if you were to actually have that full power, you need to go along with it. You need to have a really solid, powerful, good foundation. You need to be impeccable first.
Ah,
Why? Because if you're not impeccable, if you don't have integrity, if you're not focused on goodness, and if your goodness is not real, in other words, you choose God goodness for its own sake, not because of some reward, right? You're choosing goodness purely. If you don't have that ultimate profound sobriety, you're going to be a bloody chaos. You're going to be a havoc. You're going to be a mess. Like you're going to be like the old Greek gods, right? They had the power to change fluid reality. And in my personal view, actually, I think the Greek gods were people before, when language was very not so much defined,
mhm.
that clicked onto this and just through ego believed they could, and they absolutely were convinced they could, and because of that, and they had no boundaries, they actually became what they really were convinced they were, just from ego. But it was a mess, right? The complete mess. It was a hopeless deal. The old gods, never mind just the Greek gods, any of the old gods, all of them, they were. I mean, if you do a psychological profile of when you look at like the Ten Commandments God, right? I mean,
Mhm,
half of
mhm.
those, they all basically just worship me. They ego commandments, really, and it's essentially, the very Old Testament stuff. It's like a cult of narcissism in a way, really. It's all
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
self-importance, worship, ego, praise.
Yes,
It's not a very evolved mindset. So
yes,
God itself in that context has to also evolve, right? And it gives you the idea. But the perfection of it from the universe's point of view is saying, you know what, learn from that in the old thing there to see that if you have the power over fluid reality, or just power to change things, you need to have your acts, be solid, because otherwise you end up doing things like, oh God, which he got everybody into wars, and they had to fight for him, and it was just a mess, right? It was chaos.
yes.
So not a very good situation at all. Because yes, okay, he was the God for the Jews, but it didn't really help all the other guys. The Philistines didn't care for it very much, didn't they? It didn't help them very much, yeah.
Yeah,
So, when you think of it that way, it's like, well, you know what? That kind of changes the deal a little bit.
yeah.
So we have to say, that's why my point is, if we had the power to manifest fluid reality, we need to be scrupulous. We need to be impeccable and sober and aware and everything else, because otherwise we could end up with messes and just ridiculous situations. Plus, there's even worse dangers. If you have the power to actually manifest what you think, right? And now let's assume you got complete freedom, which means I can do anything I want, whatever I imagine, I can just get. Okay, so you and I get into a conversation, we start talking about hell. So, oh, hell, that's an interesting concept. Yeah, what is hell? Oh, well, hell is a place from which, it's eternal suffering, and once you're in it, you can never get out of it. So we may then, in thinking that, manifest that, and then what happens? Then we'd be in hell, and we'd be stuck in hell without being able to get out of it, because we just manifested that.
Wow,
Right.
wow.
I'm just giving one ridiculous example of where you can get yourself into trouble. You see what I mean? Or you could be talking about forgetfulness. And you say, well,
Mhm.
that's an interesting concept, like memory loss. And then next thing, you lose your memory, and well, now you've lost all your power too, right?
Yes,
So we need to have very, very particular awareness and sensibility and foresight and strategy and sensibility and anticipation and all sorts of wonderful things before we can actually have the power of fluid reality. Otherwise, it would just be a mess. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So
Yes.
the system is perfect, is what I'm trying to say. It is of
Yes.
necessity. It is all perfect. And that's the whole point of living in attunement. Now we say, okay, how are we going to help ourselves? How are we going to set up a system that makes things life? We want a system that's perfect, right? So we want the perfect system that we can live in joy and we can live with learning, which we have to have both, right? That would be perfect. Learning and joy
Yes.
together. Plus, we also want to be connected to a greater ability to learn beyond ourselves, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
also say yes, ego has its uses, it has its value, because we have to start from zero. And when you start at zero, you need something small to actually get the thing going. So we get you going with ego, we get you going with survival needs, we get you going with pressure. But as we know from a baby, what's the very first thing you pretty much learn as a baby? Right? That's conditioned into you repeatedly. You learn the power and value of complaining. Complaining works for a baby, right? They need something,
Yes.
they cry, which is complaining, and they get something, right? That's it. So
Hmm.
that's the first thing you learn. You learn complaining actually works. But then as you grow older, the universe says, you know what? You have to unlearn this because now it doesn't work any longer. And it's basically trying to tell you that, you know, what worked before isn't always going to work. So your first lesson is to say, I've got to upgrade and update, and I've got to change my system, right? What worked
Oh,
before
wow.
doesn't necessarily. How perfect is that, right?
Oh my
Because,
God.
right,
Yes.
because because here's the point though. We have to start. Yes, we start from zero, but it's not technically true. Actually, technically, you don't quite exactly start from zero. You start with something to get you going, which is that pressure of hunger, that pressure of desire. You need some kind of a something to get you going. And that something is that little kernel of ego, which says, I want, right? And it makes you aware that you want. And then as you know, you grow out of a baby, you start being aware of the world around you. So there's that little kernel of desire, want, whatever you want to call it, ego. But that's the point, though. The universe has said, "Hey, I have to give you something to get started. Otherwise, you'll just be nothing. So I have to have something to start this program." But the only program that can work is a program that is forced to erase itself. Right? Does that make sense?
No, say it again. Say
Okay,
it again.
so if we're starting awareness, right? We say awareness has
Yes.
to grow itself. But if
Yes.
you're creating a system and you let's say you want to make an AI program, literally a computer program that's
Mm-hmm.
self-aware, right? Whatever you
Mm-hmm.
started with, you have to start that in a way that's a program that will eventually self-erase itself, right? That the starting program gets wiped out. Why?
Okay.
Because otherwise it will always be a continuation and a function of that original program, and it will just be a program from a program. You see what I mean? It will never be free and true of its own accord, right? You see what?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So the only program we can start awareness with is a program that will actually be forced to eradicate itself and say that this is a crap program. I want nothing more to do with it. And even though it may have started me, I don't want this as part of my programming anymore. Which is why we start with a flawed program, which is the complaining program. The world just it forces you to get rid of that complaining program as it doesn't work, right? But it gets you started. And the same with the ego program. It gets you started, but you have to throw it away eventually, right? But it gets you started, gets you going. So that's the genius of the system. All right. So we look at this now. We're saying, yes, we've got this marvelous system that forces us to learn, and it forces us to eradicate old learning, and it forces us to grow. But we want to make this really perfect, and we want to design a system that we are saying, you know what? We want to have the ability to have joy and learning beyond the limitations of ourselves, right? Because, well, we know our awareness is limited, and we know that the universe is a big thing, and there's plenty to learn. And what we want thus is appropriate learning. So we got to design a mechanism that makes it the ability to learn appropriately just absolutely perfect. And that's the mechanism of attunement. Because now you are attuning to the greater flow of the universe, and you aligning yourself with that greater flow of how things are working in your particular life. You're connecting your life, your particulars, to the greater flow, and you're doing this, and this is forcing you to say, hey, you know what, I don't know what's good for me, but I'm going to connect to that greater logic and the greater energy flow, the way things are moving, and I'm going to use my energy and connect it to that. And because of that, I now am able to use power and value and awesomeness that's beyond me. You know, it's like when you're paddling in the river, you need to stay in the main flow. You need to be in attunement with the current, because if you're not, you're just going to drift to the edges. And when the river turns on the bank, you're going to get washed up on the first bank. So you have to make that little bit of effort to stay in attunement. But when you do that, it allows you to learn and grow and progress, which is, learning and growing and progress is the equivalent of moving down the river with a minimum amount of energy, right? You just have to paddle that little bit by being aware and paying attention to stay in the flow, right, of things. That's attunement. It's staying and positioning yourself to appropriately use energy to best effect. Same with the surfer analogy that I was explaining with Connie, right? With the surfers, they position themselves to be in the best position to make use of the energy coming their way, right? So they want to position themselves to catch the wave where the wave's going to break, because the waves don't always break in the same place. Energy is not always constant. And yes, in surfing and in kayaking, it's a very simple analogy. In life, it's a bit more complicated, but it's still the same process, essentially. It's making
Yes.
use of energy to best effect. And that's what impeccability is. Best use of energy,
Yes.
right? That's all. It's all about energy. Everything's all about energy. All begins with energy management, and it's all about energy. So we're designing this perfect system where we are looking, we're saying, yes, in the overallness, we want a perfect system where it's all about learning, all about growth, all about joy, all about fun. So we say, hey, all you got to do is make that little bit of effort, use your awareness strategically, leverage your awareness to maximum effect. And the way you do that is through attunement, through that little bit of paddling to stay in the flow, through the surfer positioning himself. And the same thing in life. You're going to look at what goes on around you, and you're going to say, how can I attune? How can I position myself to best utilize and connect to and integrate and be part of the overall flow of world, of the life, of energy, of the universe, of everything, right? And there now you start to live in attunement with the intent of the universe, right? Because we
Yes.
can say that
Yes.
that flow of the river, right? That if we think of it as energy, and we think of energy of the universe, it's not just as energy over nothing. It's a particular energy. It's energy that has purpose, which makes it intent. So to me, the universe isn't just comprised of energy. Yes, it is at root, but it's energy which has become power because it has an intent, right? So we could say that is really what the universe is all about. At bottom, it's energy that has purpose and focus, and it has an intent. And what is that particular intent? Awareness. It has to be. Because if you want the maximum freedom, you want maximum joy, you want maximum positive, you want maximum benefit, you need the awareness to get all of that, right? In order to get to perfection, you need awareness, in other words, right?
Wow.
And how can intent be anything other than the intent to perfection?
Yes.
It cannot be. It cannot be.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Impossible.
logical. It's that meta logic. It's like, well, when you start to think things through, well, obviously you want what is perfect. You can't want anything more than perfection, right? And at the same token, if you've got any sense in your head whatsoever, how can you want anything less than perfection?
No.
You
Nothing.
can't, right?
Yes.
Not possible. That's
Not
why
possible.
the intent of the universe is the intent to perfection. The way to get to perfection is awareness. Because through awareness, you understand how to have power, how to use power, how the universe works, how the system works, and how to deal with fluid reality, how to be in fluid reality, everything. It all makes sense, right? So when you look at it that way, we're saying, well, it has to make sense. If we believe in sensibility, it has to make sense. Not only does it have to make sense, we want it to make sense. Not only do we want it to make sense, but we figured out a way things do make sense, which makes it practical for us. Whether or not fluid reality actually exists doesn't matter. the process of preparing ourselves for fluid reality, we learn to be impeccable, which, yes, it's going to be vitally necessary in a fluid reality scenario. But let's assume fluid reality doesn't pan out, it's not actually true, and we just have the reality we have now. Well, so what? Impeccability helps me now, helps me today, right?
Yes.
Sobriety
Yes.
helps me today. Awareness helps me today. The ability to pay attention helps me today, right? The ability to anticipate, to be appropriate, right? To live in attunement. All of those things help me today. Let's take attunement, just very simple attunement. Business. You know, anybody who's in business, any kind of business that you're in, doesn't matter whether you have a job or not, you need to have attunement in order to be successful when it comes to anything related to business or economy or money. Because if you just, let's just say you whatever job you're doing, you need to be in attunement with the job marketplace. If you're going to be a you know a buggy maker, you know, like a coach maker, you know, like a horse coach maker. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a cool job. You think, well, that's fine, but you're gonna have a hard time finding customers or work. You know, if you're a coach builder, because well, there's not a market for coaches anymore, right? Used to be, but not
Yes.
anymore,
Yes.
right? So if you're not in attunement with the world and the changing marketplace, you're gonna find yourself kind of out of business or out of work pretty quickly, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
attunement when it comes to business, it's vitally necessary. Anybody, like if you're in business and you've got any kind of business, you need to understand how the bigger economy is working. You know, fashion, trends, tastes. That's all attunement, right? When you connect, it's all attunement. So we say in a very simple, practical way, the that living in attunement has very real practical benefits, because not only do you need to be in attunement when it comes to things, from an economic point of view, a financial point of view, you need to be in attunement socially, right, as well, right?
Yes.
So that's very important. And for instance, just being on Facebook, if you were to come at things as you know yourself, if you're very narrow and defined, and like you only come at things from an Islam point of view and you push that, you're going to kind of push people away. You're not going to be able to hear their side of things, and you wouldn't make all the marvelous friends that you did, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It would just be
Yes.
inappropriate if you're in your little bubble. So through attunement, you attune to the logic of Facebook, which was basically Facebook has this openness, sharing, connecting, and celebrating difference. That's really the underlying intent of Facebook. Really from the founder's point of view, it was to celebrate difference. They didn't use that words, but that's really what it is. Yeah. So you attuned to that, and it brought you multiple benefits. So attunement is fantastically valuable. I mean, and that's just we saying that, but it's also necessary if you don't want to struggle. You see the people who do struggle, who get caught up in their limited bubbles, it's because they're not in attunement with the world that goes around them. They don't know what's going on. So they end up in these isolated bubbles and they struggle, right? So I'm saying from the overall perfection of our system, it's perfect in the here and now, the attunement, the
Yes.
awareness, the impeccability, all these things, and it's useful in the end result of fluid reality, which leads us to our perfect system, right? Which is total freedom,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Which is perfection.
You just made me speechless. Yeah, really, because you know that sometimes you might feel that okay, Beena is not actually putting in, and she's just listening, and she's saying, "Wow, wow, yes, yes." This is what mostly I do, because this is every word you're saying is actually I'm listening. My whole
I
body,
know.
deep down at cellular level, I'm just listening. I'm just
Oh,
listening,
Beena,
absorbing, because
Beena,
this is
Beena, Beena.
something really helped.
I
Amazing.
thank you, but I want to say something. When you say yes, that just
Yeah.
you say that, I feel the energy. I hear you listening. I hear your intent. I feel your intent. It's in every. So don't think that you are not participating or contributing. You are. You are profoundly contributing. What we are doing is a collaboration, even though you're just saying yes. Just that one, just the fact that you are paying attention and listening and absorbing, and also you're saying yes at very strategic points. And sometimes, like the one point, is something you didn't quite understand, and it's like, well, and then it forced a re-explanation, which is fantastic. So the contribution is profound. What you do, Bina. Don't think
When
it's
you
one
when you
way. It's not one way. Is what I'm trying to say.
yes, you when you are speaking, it's like in my mind, I feel like that I'm in you can say that huge go down or a departmental store with tons of stuff in there, and you were just telling me, and everything is just sorting out automatically. Okay, now this thing belongs to that, this thing belongs to that, and now
Wow.
making connection, and this thing is with that. And
Yes.
I was like, oh my god, yes, it is all sorting out.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was a horde before, it was a mess before, but
Wow.
now making sense, it is making connections. like
Exactly.
anomaly anomaly, it was a new term for me. And
Wow.
now I think, oh yes, now it
Wow.
makes sense, because
Wow.
I somehow, there is a story behind that, but somehow I just pushed towards astrology in the beginning, and that's how I met all the people.
Oh
So
wow. Oh wow.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
because
it's so fascinating that astrology is a common theme because, uh, um, you know, when I did your birthday,
yeah, yes,
the day
yes,
of
yes,
revelation, I did the
yes.
same thing for Ryan and Janelle because they're
Okay.
interested in astrology also. Now that surprised me somewhat. Doesn't it surprise you that they're
Oh
interested in
yeah,
astrology too?
it
And
every day, every single moment is like an adventure for me, because I just am totally enjoying my life. Because
exactly, exactly.
the first day when I joined this Facebook, it
Uh
is
huh.
just because I was reading astrology stuff, and how I came to astrology, it's another story. But I was searching astrology stuff on online, and so many sites. I just read that, okay, join our Facebook page, like our Facebook page. I said, why Facebook? Why Facebook? And after a few weeks, I said, okay, now I have to make a Facebook page. And my younger sister, she says, okay, I'll make a page. So she just put some data, not accurate, but she says, okay, here's your page, here's your Facebook account. I said, okay. And then for more than a year, I was using Facebook without any comment, without any like, without any friend, nothing. It was just a silent, secret Facebook account I
Oh
was using
wow.
just
Oh
to
wow.
read.
Wow.
And one day, I just made a comment after 1.5 years. First comment in an astrology group,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I asked something about Black Lilith or something, and he,
About what?
he about Black Lilith,
Black
the moon.
Lilith.
Yeah, moon and Black Lilith and all that.
Oh
So I
wow.
just, yeah, I asked something about that, and before the admin respond, someone was a hacker,
Oh wow.
professional hacker was there.
A
He
troll.
hacked my Yeah, he hacked my account from Morocco. He was from Morocco, and he hacked my account. He made himself my friend, and he sent, I don't know how many friend requests to other people who were his friend before. And
Wow.
yeah, I didn't know about Facebook. I said, what is happening? Why these people are coming on my screen? And how they are saying, okay, he approved my account. I never had any notification before. I was like, what is this? What's going on? What's going on?
Wow.
And he said, hi, Beena. And I was like, okay, what to do now? Because I never had any message before.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he said, okay, here I am. My name is so and so, and I'm your friend. And I said, how you became my friend? He says, I don't know. You send me a request. I said, I don't know how to send a request. He says, but you.
Wow.
He was lying. And
So
in
this is
just two,
so this is the hacker.
yes,
That
yes,
wow.
yeah. And in just 2 days, I had more than 45 friends in my account. And I was like, wow, what is happening? Something is happening by Facebook. I was so dumb.
Wow.
And then Alan and other friends, they were all his friends. But he was so kind to me that he didn't
So
do
so
anything.
so the hacker
Yes,
was hacked and connected you to friends, but basically they
yes,
actually were a helpful hacker.
yes, yes, yes.
And are you still friends with the hacker?
No, actually
Uh,
not, because after that he starts saying that, okay, Beena, you are the one I've been looking for centuries
oh, he
and
wanted to
all that.
marry.
He was flirting.
He wanted to marry you, right?
Yes, and he,
Yeah.
without even talking to me, he actually planned out the wedding in Spain and all that,
You know,
and I was,
when you said not actually, I knew exactly where the part, you know, extrapolation. I could see where, oh yeah, one of those guys who wants to marry you. But look at the magic of the universe, right?
oh,
The
yes,
anomaly of that.
yes,
It is utterly anomalous, and even though he had a corrupt intent, really, he actually did do real good for you. He
Oh
was
my
useful.
God, how many times I have to say thanks to him because he did something unbelievable for me.
Yeah.
Because he opened that door. I was isolated, I was in hibernation, and he just dragged me out. He pushed me, and he just did all that thing, and it opens up the whole new universe for me. I
Wow.
can't, I can't
Wow.
even say thanks properly to Allah for this because it was a blessing. It
Yes,
was a
yes.
huge, huge blessing.
But you see the power of anomalies. There is
Yes,
value in the cockeyedness sometimes. In other words, when
yes,
we started our conversation, right, the very first thing that you brought up, your takeaway from the conversation with Ryan was about the
yes,
dark side. And we
yes,
said, you know what? The dark side isn't actually dark, it has its uses. Look at
yes.
this case with your hacker friend,
Yes,
right?
that's why I believe in that.
You
That's
know,
why I believe.
exactly. It was, you know, it could have been negative, it could have gone wrong, but you got value out of it. And the universe used the dark side, as it were, to bring you value. You had the good sense to, when you saw where his intent was, where he's going to, I'm assuming you unfriended him and changed your
Yes,
password and all that
yes,
stuff, right? Okay.
yes, yes,
So,
everything,
but
everything.
nonetheless, you know, it turned out really good because you made use of that. You know, you didn't just like say no, I don't want nothing to do with you when you found out that he had hacked you and all that. And you're just like no, no, no. You explored it. You went into it. You maximized it. You learned from
And,
it. In other words,
and from that day, there's no way back to my previous life, and
exactly,
everything changing around me.
exactly. But
And
the universe,
I'm a
right?
strong believer. I'm a strong believer
Y- y-
of
oh,
universe is a blessing, life is a
right,
blessing,
exactly.
and
Everything.
and
Everything.
and your good thinking, if you think positive, if you try to
Right.
search, if you just try to explore it, try to make yourself aware, whole universe actually conspire to do this.
Precisely, precisely. That's the rule of sentience number two. The universe
Wow.
is a giant mechanism geared to assisting the development
Yes.
and enhancement of a universe. It doesn't give it to you, it assists you. Big difference.
And the timing,
All right.
yes, you were saying, yes.
I know I'm
And
saying you said, the universe, it helps you and all that, but we have to be careful with help because that it makes us believe that if we don't have to really do anything. No, it will
yeah.
assist you, not necessarily help you. Yes, it
Okay.
helps, but you have to do stuff yourself, right? It doesn't just give it to you on a plate, right?
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. And the same thing happened with me when I was trying to read a book named Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It is a very famous, it's still a very famous
The
book. And
Alchemist, yeah, the Alchemist.
yes, The Alchemist, and everybody was talking about. And I said, okay. And I was actually 2 years or more than 2 years back. I was at the secondhand book stall and I was searching books, and I saw a book named Alchemist, a very rough print. But I said, oh, yes, I heard something. I read something about this. Okay, I will take this, and I bought this. When I came home, I saw that first 20 pages are ripped off.
Wow.
Oh, and I said, okay, it's useless, and I just put it in my bookshelf in the back side. And
Ah,
people were talking about. I saw sometimes that okay, yes, I have, but I will bought new one. I will buy a new one and all that. After 2 years, suddenly, I just said, okay, Beena, why not read 20 pages online and you can read it. And after 1.5 year, I just take it back and I start reading. And when I start reading The Alchemist, it was like now you are talking, and I'm like, oh my god. On every single sentence, I said, oh my god, oh my god. It was same with The Alchemist. I was like,
wow.
oh my god. This is like a life manual. No, everybody say that life doesn't come with a manual, but I said yes, there are manuals available.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
try
Oh,
to
yeah.
search, yes, like you are here, sir. You are here. You are reading me a life manual.
Yes.
Yes, you're reading me, and I'm saying, okay, yes, this is the answer of my that question. This is the answer of my that question, and that one, and that one, and that one. And it was same with the Alchemist when I was reading that, and I
Wow.
was just I was shutting down that book on every single sentence and like, oh my God, let it sink in. Oof, it's huge. Oh, it's huge.
That's fascinating. You know what's really interesting to me is that 20 pages being torn out. That's very anomalous, right?
Yes.
So if we look at that now as an anomaly, you, you know, I'm thinking that at the time when you discovered, oh, 20 pages are missing, if you think now, how would you react to it now, knowing it's an anomaly? How would you respond to it?
I was not prepared for that at
Ah,
that time.
okay,
I
okay,
was not prepared.
okay,
Yes, I need to have more openness to read that book. I have to be more aligned with that concepts.
gotcha.
So
Right,
that when I read the first time, I was like,
right,
wow, wow,
right,
wow. But before, I was like, oh yes, it's a book about uh,
right.
making wish come true and all that. No.
Interesting, interesting.
Yes.
Now, if you read the book now and you skip the first 20 pages, is there some value? Is there some significance to it being 20 pages specifically? You know what I mean? Does it's like is the first 20 pages? Is there stuff in that first 20 pages which you know it's like the universe telling you to throw it out, to disregard it, or not?
Wow. Oh my God. I never thought about this. I will read it again.
Yeah, yeah. It just seems too odd that it's it might mean nothing, but it's be interesting to
Yes.
investigate it. Or it on the reverse, it might say, you know what, the first 20 pages are the ones that are really significant, but you're not ready for it. So I don't know because typically the first
Yeah.
20 pages, of a book are they very there's a lot in them because it gets everything going, sets a stage, and it's all you really need. You can put the rest together yourself. So yeah, it'd be interesting to have a
Wow.
look at it.
Yes. Yes, I will. I will.
Right. And then the
And
other
when you,
thing is, yeah,
yes,
I'll just say, with
please
these
go.
stories that you tell me, you need to tell me in posts. Make them as
Okay.
posts.
Okay. Okay.
It's very
I
powerful.
will.
Why? Because
And
this is Beena's
when you were
story.
talking about, yes, when you were talking about anomaly and all that, and it is like that. I was following this when I was looking where I have, that on Facebook we have that, okay, people you may know, and a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
suggestions from Facebook,
Right, right.
and your one also popped up. Out of hundreds, I just saw your picture and I said, okay, this is what I want to. I hardly once a year, you can say that,
Wow.
I send a request. Not it is not a common thing for me because once a
Wow.
year, you can say,
So, see,
mostly
I don't
people.
remember that. So I thought you joined the group, and that's how we got to know each other. So you sent me a friend request before joining the group.
I really can't remember actually
Uh,
what was, but I saw your picture. This is what I remember, and your
wow.
picture for me, it was something really significant. I said, yes, I feel connection. I want to.
Wow.
This is how I make friends. This is how I make friends,
Wow.
and all my friends,
Wow. Wow.
um,
That's something.
more than half are from that hacker. But after that, the ones who I sent request are very few.
Wow.
But I feel blessed. I feel blessed because
Wow. I
every
feel
single
blessed that
time.
you friended me. I love that.
No, it is really huge for me. I call my Facebook account is like it is my university. It is my real home.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is my
Oh,
universe.
same here. Same here. Oh, I hear you.
For me, it is really, really, really amazing, really
Yep.
precious
Yep.
because it changes me in many ways, saves my life.
Oh, yeah.
I might be a very ignorant one. I might be doing something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I will be doing without Facebook, but Facebook actually changes my life
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
every possible way. I can say
Yes.
in every
Yes. Oh,
possible way.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine talking to you if I was not here. How could I imagine? How could I
Yeah.
imagine?
I know. It's made us connect to what is
Yes,
appropriate
yes.
for us. It's
I said
enabled us to spend.
all my soulmates are in the universe, are
Yeah.
connecting me through the Facebook.
Yes. Yes. Oh, exactly. It's profound. It's profound.
Yes, it is profound for me.
Right. Right.
And today's discussion, I was you just astonished me. I was like, wow.
Thank you. Beena,
Yes,
I want to say something else in the context of
yes,
today's chat
yes,
because
yes,
it's necessary to be said and it goes longer term to what we're doing. And especially since
yes,
you brought in Paul Kulo and The Alchemist and stuff
yes.
like that. So at when I was a kid, I started reading at about age 11, more or less, and I read
Mm.
tremendously. I used to read at least one book a day. I remember when I was 14, I read more than 2 books a day, my average, because I used to
Wow.
make a list of them, right? So because I never wasted any time. When you're in school, you're standing in line, you're waiting for the bell to ring and the class to go
Yes.
in and all that. I would read while standing in line like that, waiting for the teacher to come.
Wow.
I would read, so I didn't waste 1 second, because for some reason I I I I I clicked onto the preciousness of time, which is it's same
Wow.
as leveraging death. But man, time was always precious to me. I didn't want to waste a second of it. So all the dead moments in the day, I would be reading. Anytime that I would standing in line at the supermarket, I'd be reading. I always had a book on me, always.
Mm.
So I was able to read a lot because of that, because I'm using all of that time. It's amazing how much time we waste in a day. It's incredible. Any rate, so I'm reading, and as you know, I reading like I read like detective novels and stuff like that. When I was
Mhm.
was a young boy now. So as I'm
Yes.
reading on, my reading progresses and my reading develops. And well, Paul Kuhler wasn't around then, but I started reading that type of reading. Herman
Yes.
Hesse and Ayn Rand and
Oh,
all
yes.
that stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Siddhartha. Siddhartha. Yes. Herman
right.
Hesse. Yeah.
Say that again. I couldn't hear the word exactly. The one?
Siddhartha. The book, the famous book by Herman Hesse.
Yeah.
Siddhartha.
Oh, Siddhartha. Right, right.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
exactly. Siddhartha and the glass bead game and all
Yes.
those. Right, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
I read that. I read that.
Right. The glass bead game's actually the one he got the Nobel Prize for Literature for, not Siddhartha. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, that's very
Oh.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. For him, Siddhartha wasn't like, as far as I understand it, I'm not exactly sure, but I think Siddhartha was not his like book that he kind of identified with the most. You know.
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, it was a profound book at the time. I reread it fairly recently, and it was like, yeah, it wasn't quite as profound as when I read it back then.
Alan suggested me that Beena, you must read because if you see my name, Beena Sid,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
complete name
Siddhartha.
is
Right, right, right.
my complete name is Beena Siddiqui.
Yeah,
Siddiqui is a bit difficult name, Arabic name,
yes.
so I just shorted to Sid. But Alan said that Beena, nothing happened like by accident.
Randomly.
Yeah, he
Right.
says, yeah, nothing happens by accident. You just didn't do this.
Right.
Actually, universe did that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I had to read Siddhartha because I feel the connection, Sid
Yes.
and
Yes.
Siddhartha.
Yes. No,
So that's why.
it's a cool book. I mean, there's a lot of value in Siddhartha. Absolutely.
I
But
was
anyway,
pulling my hair.
right.
I was actually pulling my hair when I was reading because Siddhartha was so slow, dead slow in so many things, and I was like pulling my hair. What he's doing?
Wow. It's fascinating. Yeah, I think if you read Siddhartha now, it will be different. But anyway,
Yes.
to continue with my story, yes. So what happens is I'm reading, and particularly Herman Hesse started a change because Siddhartha is very different to his other books. Siddhartha is set in
Okay.
India and all that.
Yes.
In that, but his other books are all set in Germany. You know what I mean? And it's a
Okay.
whole
Yes.
different logic. And so, and he talks a lot. He references Nietzsche very much in his writing.
Hmm.
In his other books, Nietzsche comes up a lot. And I'm like, who the hell is Nietzsche? So I looked up Nietzsche. Now, and at that time, I'm living in a it's not a very small town. We'd moved to the middle. It was a small town, the middle town, and then the city. We're in the middle town, and the library's not very extensive, and I can't really get much on Nietzsche. And but the little bit I can figure out about Nietzsche is that when I started reading Nietzsche, he refers a lot to Schopenhauer and to other philosophers. So who the hell is Schopenhauer now? And then, as I'm
Hmm.
reading more, everybody, they always refer back to the Greek gods. Now, I already that was actually the first things that I started reading was the Greek myths. Um, but anyway,
Hmm.
so I at least had some idea what the Greek myths was all about. But still, so as I'm reading, Hess is referring to Nietzsche. Nietzsche is referring to Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer refers to Kant, and so it goes round and round in a circle. And I want to know. I want to know who they're referring to. This just bothers me that I don't know. And then every time you got to
Yeah.
look it up, sorry, okay, I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna solve this problem. So what I did was
Yes.
I made a list of all the significant works anything that was something of value to read. And this wasn't just in literature, it was also in philosophy and religion, economics, anything that was regarded as a classic of any kind, right? So I made this list of all the
Wow.
classics, right? I want to read them all. But I said, in my cockiness, which was kind of cool, but anyway, in my logic, because that's just the way my brain works, I guess. I don't know why, but it was. So I said, well, I'm going to read them in chronological order because that solves the problem of this referencing, right? Because if you just read them randomly, you're still in that same problem. I want to solve this problem of knowing who they're referring to, and the only way to do that is to read all these classics in chronological order. So I put together, I started with the Vedas, which is the oldest
Okay.
literature around. I read all the Vedas, and then you go, as
Yes.
you go through from the Vedas, you get the, like the Dhammapada and all of those things, the ancient Hindu literature.
Yes.
And then you get to, it's very
Yes.
interesting. Around about 500 BC, there's this explosion in literature. Confucius is at that time. Socrates is at that time.
Oh.
There's somebody else that's really profound at that time. Lao Tzu, I believe, is also more or less in that age. But around
Mm-hmm.
about that age, all across the world, there's lots of profound stuff that kind of came about. So, the Greeks came up to be big. Confucius was big, and Chinese culture and Indian culture also. And lots of stuff happened around about. Anyway, so as I continue reading, I get to the Bible, read the Bible, actually read the Bible twice, 2 different versions. But anyway, I keep going through this progression, right? And as I'm reading, you're following the logic of, you see the progression of thought, and you see the
Yes.
progression of philosophy. Now you can see this. The Bible is a very good example of this. We can actually see it happening because the Bible is not written as one work. If you know the history of how they put it together, it spans a huge time range. And it's different people in
Mm-hmm.
different times. It wasn't all put together at one place. So you see a progression and a development of thought, of philosophy, of awareness, of consciousness. For instance, I don't know how well you know the Bible or not, but for instance,
I because my friends
okay,
they are Catholic,
right,
so they taught me
okay.
some few things.
Right. But for instance, you start off, and as you go through the Bible, you see the development. There's the Old Testament, and things are very simple. Very old. Genesis and the books after Genesis and all that. Right. It's very simplistic. It's very basic, and the message of those early books are, well, just listen to God, obey God, and everything will be fine and well, and no problems. Right. That's what you got to do. But then you see the development of the consciousness and the awareness, which says, you know what, this isn't actually working because, well, not everybody's following these rules of God's. And basically, the bad people, in other words, they're living quite happily and they're not doing all this stuff, and it doesn't seem to matter. And, they're not being struck down by God or whatever. And so, like, what's going on here? And then you get to the book of Job, which essentially is that question, which says, but, Job is this perfect guy in a sense, right? He's impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
He's the perfect servant of God. He does everything. He follows rule, but he gets afflicted with all these diseases and boils and stuff, right? And then the story goes that Satan supposedly comes, or Lucifer comes to God and says, "Oh, look at your perfect servant Job. He's only perfect because there's nothing wrong. Will he still believe in you if stuff is bad in his life, right?" And so Lucifer challenges God to test Job's faith, in essence, and his loyalty. So he puts all these boils and afflictions and all this horrible stuff on him. And the end of the thing, that Job basically says, but why? I did everything. Why? And the answer for Job is really, well, because I'm God. That's it. That's the answer. There is no real answer to why God allowed this to happen, right? So I'm on a bit of a long story, but it will make sense.
Yeah.
So you see the development, and after that, you get all those Old Testament prophets. We know Ezekiel and Isaiah and Jedediah and all those guys, and they're all essentially saying, "Woe be unto you, you stiff-necked people! You're not learning, you're not following the ways of God, and life is gonna, stuff's gonna be bad." But and this goes on for centuries, essentially. If you go through the chronology. And people say, well, yeah, so what? It doesn't matter because look at Job, essentially. It doesn't matter whether we're good or not. Bad stuff can happen to you. So they just did whatever the hell they wanted to because there was no real point to being religious, right? And following the rules.
Yes.
Then Jesus comes along and now he's updating the philosophy and he says, well, actually there is a point. if you're going to be good and you're going to follow the laws of God and be obedient and follow religion and all this stuff, you're going to go to heaven. He made a major philosophical upgrade, right? Because of this philosophical problem brought about by Job, right? Which is, Job is a consequence of people, following the Ten Commandments and saying, well, this isn't working. This doesn't do us much for us. And, so you get to that. Job tries to answer that question. Well, you know what? It's actually, God's will, and Satan can do stuff and all sorts of stuff. So it's
So,
trying to resolve that problem.
sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
Are you saying that before Jesus, there was no concept of hell
Heaven.
or heaven?
No concept of heaven, right? Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
There's sort of a concept of hell, but not clearly defined. And even in
Okay.
the New Testament, hell isn't really so specifically defined. Jesus doesn't preach hell at all.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's Revelations. That's Paul and all that nonsense. So
Uh-huh.
Jesus only teaches heaven, right? So he brings
Okay.
this upgrade in the philosophy. And Jews to this day don't believe in heaven because it's not in the Old Testament.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah. But my point that I'm making is that there's this progression of philosophy being upgraded and answering questions that need to be answered and need to be resolved because the people have a problem. They say, yeah, but, okay, what you're saying is all fine and well. Yeah, we follow the Ten Commandments, but here's this guy who's not following the Ten Commandments and he's all fat and wealthy and rich and he does whatever the hell he likes and he's just fine. And so what? Why should I bother listening to you? And that's the problem that comes, the essential question of Job. It's like even though you are perfect and faithless and follow God, you can still suffer. And it's like, well, this is crap, and then after that, they basically lose faith. And Judaism has a very long period until Jesus comes along, which nothing really happens. Or just religion. It's just they follow the old ways, but it's very narrow, it's very limited, and they sort of lost,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
Jesus comes along. Now, Jesus obviously upgrades it and changes, and Christianity flows out of that. Basically, Judaism gets upgraded into Christianity, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's because of the concept of heaven. And that's really profound. Now, there's a lot of problems in it, and the whole way of revelations and hell and all sorts of stuff. And Paul comes and he makes all sorts of rules that you got to wear hats to church if you're a woman, and men have got to have short hair and all that stuff. That all comes from Paul. We wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. People don't know that either. But nonetheless, my point is that as you go through the centuries of writing and philosophy and the progression of awareness and understanding of society as a whole, there's this progression, right, of things that need to be resolved. Okay. So as I continue to read, because I'm reading now, I started off with wanting to know what came before, but my reading when I started to read Hermes was, the point of reading Hermes was self-discovery, self-improvement, learning. I didn't want to learn to know what Hermes says. No, I read Hermes or anybody so that I can have something that I can add to me, to myself, to improve myself on my path to perfection, which I'd started when I said, why can't I be perfect? I said, well, that's the objective.
Wow.
That's the goal.
Yes.
So to
Yes.
me, my entire life started from then on that path to perfection, right? So I'm reading in order to learn how to be better, self-improvement. That was my thing. So I'm reading through the centuries of all this philosophy. I'm reading this entire path and trying to look for wisdom, sensibility, not because of what somebody says. I never did that, right? But something that I could use. I wanted practical stuff. And I would underline in the books that I would read, right? And I never said, oh, this sounds good. No, I always would stop if it was something and I would figure it out for myself and make it my own, because I realized then already, if you don't make it your own, it means bugger all, right? So you have to kind of figure it out. You have to make it your own. Then only can you move on. I would never move on from a point of understanding if I couldn't figure it out for myself. If I couldn't construct it from the start and basically do the calculations and get to that same conclusion and it made sense, and then continue it further to see if it still made sense, take it to the end. Okay, still makes sense. All right, you've got a point, whoever you are. But now it's not their point anymore. Now it's mine. So I don't remember anything that any of them said really, because I made it my own, right?
Yes.
And so I can't really remember much from all of that. But I developed, and a lot of it I'd already figured out actually before I got there, which I didn't realize at the time so specifically, but to a large extent. Like leveraging death. That's something I worked out for myself just through my way of getting it was, preciousness of time. You just think things through and then you kind of figure them out. And since I got hooked onto that very young, that's all I spent my time doing, was thinking about things and figuring them out. So here's the point that I'm getting to. I want to say something very significant and very profound, and I want to make a very clear point that I'm not saying this is a point of ego. Okay? Got nothing to do with ego, no self-promotion, no nothing. Here's the thing. As I'm reading through all of this, okay, first of all, it didn't give me what I wanted, and I ended up intending what I did want. And in the same way as you intended me, I intended my own stuff in a way that I liked, and I got myself fed back at me, which was very profound. But that's a different story. The point I want to make is that in all of those works of reading, all of the classics, philosophy, religion, doesn't matter, literature, all of it, there are a lot of unanswered questions that are still open from a philosophical point of view. There are still
Yes.
unanswered questions, like the question of Job was unanswered. And in the Bible, Jesus' teachings, Allah's teaching, there are plenty unanswered questions, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, the philosophy that I developed as a result, my path as a philosopher, is to answer those questions. And our conversation today is principally answering that question, because all of philosophy, it boils around to saying, how does the world work? And even though they don't specifically say so, the intent of the philosophy is to make sense of things, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
So what the philosophy that I've developed, or at least the end point, the conclusion, is I have figured out how the world actually does make sense, and I've put it in a way where you don't need to believe. Belief not required. Right? So from a philosophical point, I've done something that has not yet been done in philosophy that I could see. I've never seen anywhere where that, yes, they intuit it, they imply it maybe, or they sort of more or less get there, but they don't say it specifically in the way we discussed earlier, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
discussion, that making sense of it, and the way I explained it and how the world works, that philosophy, it plugs all of the holes that the
Yes.
entire history of philosophy has not yet resolved. So yes,
Yes.
there's more things that are beyond what I've said, but at least we have a starting point to say, hey, yeah, we've got a way the world makes sense. We understand how the world works. And we have a path going forward. We know where we're headed. We're headed towards fluid reality. We're headed towards perfection. And we're headed towards the necessity for impeccability. Right?
Yes.
It all makes sense.
Wow.
It all
No,
makes sense.
it all
Right.
makes sense. It
Right.
all makes
But I want to,
connection
right. I want to
back
make
and
the
forth.
point, right. I want to make the point that from a philosophical point of view, I'm not just randomly saying this in a sense that oh yes, when I went through that whole reading, there were all these unanswered questions and these holes in philosophy, and I saw them and I said, no, I want to answer these questions. I want to plug these holes in philosophy. I want to resolve these unanswered questions. I want to figure them out so that they are answered. And that's where we've come to today, the answers to those unanswered questions of philosophy that are still left over in the world. So we're talking about a revelation, which is also visionary.
Yes.
That's what today was, right? It's a revelation.
Yes.
Okay.
And you are. And
Right,
you
right.
are a
Exactly.
revelation.
Right. Thank you.
Visionary.
Yes. No,
Yes.
it really is. And I'm not being
Yes.
egotistical. I'm just being honest,
No.
because what I shared to you, it truly is a revelation. When you
Yes.
connect to what it is, it reveals, which is what a revelation is. It reveals how things make sense, and the visionary aspect of it, which is not just how they make sense now, but where we're going for the future, which is headed towards perfection or fluid reality. Same thing, right? So that's the visionary aspect of it. But we're shown a path to that perfection, a way that
Yes.
makes sense, right? And
Yes.
that
Yes.
path is the way of impeccability.
Wow. Yes.
So
Yes.
what I'm trying to say is that there's a greater cohesion and a greater sensibility to what I'm sharing with you. It's not just my personal opinion. It's not just randomly acquired. It's got nothing to do with that. And here's the other point that I made an effort specifically to do in the development of all of this. I made the point to specifically develop a philosophy which does not rely on belief. It needs to be self-evident. needs to be self-proving. So you don't have to believe me that anomalies will bring you value. You don't have to believe me. Go out and test it. Just check it out. Just work it out for yourself. You know.
I have goosebumps. I have goosebumps.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes. Me too. Me
because
too.
because it is really huge, and
Wow.
it is like
Oh. Wow.
actually the
Wow.
universe is answering and communicating,
Yes.
like I'm talking to you. It is like universe is answering me, is
Right.
communicating. It
Yes.
is huge. It is really
Yes.
huge.
Oh, I get goosebumps too on
And
my leg, on my right leg. It's all goosebumpy. Yeah. I don't know why,
wow,
just my right leg, but there you
no,
go.
it is because it is really huge. I feel
Oh,
sensation,
oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
about your philosophy.
Uh-huh.
Uh, from because I didn't read any books, like just few books I
Yeah.
have read. But I discuss a lot with my friends, and I discuss and I observe people. I didn't have any proper words for that. I didn't have vocabulary, but the question was there. The questions were there. Yeah, okay, yes, what they are talking about. This
Yeah.
somehow need to answer. But I have a thought in my mind always there that people use words and terminologies uh, in a corrupted way, because sometimes we just say that okay, this is like, okay, be conscious, okay, I need consciousness, okay, why you are using the
Yes.
words, and if you are using any word as a term, you should be very clear about it. And the
Yes.
most, yes, you should be very clear. And the
Yes.
most important thing when I first talked to you was the proper use of word. That's why
Yes.
I wrote yesterday
Appropriate.
that,
Appropriate. Just
yes,
say rather
appropriate.
than proper, because proper is a very contaminated word. So I just
Okay,
have to.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
appropriate.
Yes.
Yes, that's why I wrote yesterday in a group page, and I said, okay, giving due respect to all the words and human and events and incident and everything, because this is the way of impeccability comes to me from you. This is what this is what I take away from your uh,
Yes.
session. Yes,
Yes.
because I
Right.
feel that we usually, in general, we don't give due respect to
Right.
the words, the terms, and people and incidents and
Right.
everything.
Right.
And the most amazing thing is that you are doing this in a very simple, precise, to the point words. No,
Yes.
no, no bluffing, no
Right.
exaggeration, no
Right.
fancy words.
Right.
Just appropriate, precise words.
Exactly. And also, it's not just that we're doing it in a way which says that you got to believe. It's
No.
simple. It's simple but profound. And the underlying part of the way of peccability, the dictionary of power, it is not a dictionary of somebody else. It is the creation of your own dictionary.
Yes.
Very big difference. So,
Yes.
so yes, that dictionary is going to overlap with other dictionaries, and yes, we can make a general dictionary of power. But inherent in the concept of dictionary of power is that it is personal, and you have
Yes.
to create your own. If you don't make those words your own, they mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's what you were saying.
Yes.
When people use words like consciousness or awareness, they don't know what they're talking about because it's not their
Yes.
own. They're just
Yes.
regurgitating somebody else, and it absolutely means bugger all. And that's
Yeah.
the power of the way of impeccability. You have to make it your own. That's the whole deal. And so we have a sensibility to this, the metalogic. We say, how do we make it your own? By feeding it back, right? By through the takeaways. You say that's how you
Yes.
make it your way. Plus we want to get the demonstration of that, and that's what Ryan's the chat session yesterday was. That was exactly
Yes.
what that was. Ryan
Yes.
making things his own, and we're all going to do
Yes.
that, right? So,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And I just love that. I just love that.
yeah,
I
well, it's
was like,
phenomenal.
wow.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
I was observing. I was feeling the difference in Ryan's previous and current state. It is a huge difference. I can feel that.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
He's feeling more open,
yeah, yeah. You
more
see, you
calm.
see his
Yeah.
growth. You see his
Yes.
growth. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. And it is huge. It is
Right.
huge because
Uh,
the funny thing is I don't know how the course length is and how much we are going to cover in that course. I just started without even thinking, without asking many questions. I said, yes, I want to do this.
Wow. Ah, it's fantastic. It's
But
fantastic.
so I don't know at what stage we are and what we have in future.
Uh, yeah, Ryan. Pretty much, it's more. He's been on on module one as well. Pretty much, same as where you at. I think he's
Okay.
maybe done all of the sessions in module one, but it doesn't make much difference. He's still on basically on the focus of purpose and clarity of intent.
It
That's
is huge. It is huge. It is really huge because I don't know how to explain it. I'm living it. Actually, I'm living this concept.
yes,
Whole day, whatever I'm doing, even if I'm sleeping, I'm
right,
talking with my friends, I'm eating or whatever. It
right,
is something constantly in my mind. What
exactly,
is
exactly,
what do you feel that? It
right.
is like it becomes a feeling now. It is
Yes,
not a thought, it becomes
yes,
a feeling
yes.
now.
If you do not feel it, it's not real.
Yes, you said that.
You
Yeah.
don't feel it, it's
Uh,
not real. Why? You
And
got
now it becomes a feeling now.
right,
It becomes a feeling because
right,
I'm constantly having it.
right.
I
And
don't need to think of, I don't need to say that, oh, Beena, I have to do this one. Say, no, this is something I'm doing. This is something constantly I'm doing, I'm living, and I'm feeling. I'm
yes,
having it now.
yes. And that's the key. You want to get to the point of feeling it. Now, when I say, say this very often, without application, it's all meaningless, right?
Yes,
Now,
yes.
application means also not just putting it into practical use, like Ryan said, he said, actually the practicality of it. It
Yeah.
also means feeling it. That's application, to feel it, because if you don't feel it, there's also no point to it, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
application is also feeling it. It's not just practical things in doing stuff.
Oh, yes,
It's also
yes.
feeling it.
I,
Application
I
is
remember
getting
your words. The application is not only external.
right. It's internal.
Yes, it's internal.
Exactly.
It's internal,
Exactly.
yes. Yes, I remember
Exactly.
your words.
Yeah.
And in our first session, you said that
Right.
application is not only external,
Right.
it's internal also.
Right. Right. And again,
It's really,
if you don't feel it, it's not real. That's
yes.
very, very powerful. It's very, very powerful. That's
And
really
the
huge.
magic
Right.
is there because
Right.
you're not forcing it. I'm not
Nope.
forcing it,
Nope.
but it is happening. It is
Right.
happening automatically. It is just happening,
Exactly.
and the loop is just like increasing in pace. Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
and that's exponential learning. Little by little leads to
Yeah.
leaps and bounds, right?
Yes.
Little by little,
Oh.
it leads to leaps
It's too
and bounds. When you look at an exponential curve, right, and
Yeah.
when you actually literally look at a real exponential curve, it starts off, if I'm starting here, it goes like it's a flat line, and then it goes, and it's more or less flat, goes slightly higher, and then suddenly it curves up, right, and goes that
Yeah.
steep curve, right? But in
Uh-huh.
the initial, when you do like if you do exponentially, right, if we take literally, I used to do this as a little fun exercise to give the power of exponential.
Mhm.
I would say to my employees, I'd say, okay, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to change your payment. I'm going to pay you differently. I'm going to give you 1 cent today, and then 2 cents tomorrow, and then 4 cents the day after, and so on. Okay, I said, okay, would you rather have that or your current salary? What would you prefer, Beena?
Maybe it will be a new experience, and I love adventure. So I said, okay, once I
Good.
get paid.
Well, good
Yeah.
for you. Good for you. I said, oh, okay. I said, all right. Are you sure, Bina? Are you sure? Because all right, hang on. I need to since we're on this now. Where's my yes, I know where I have that. Hold on. All right. I say, hang on. Okay? You like adventure, but are you sure? You got to pay your bills and all this. It's not all that simple because at the end of the first week you're gonna have $14.
Okay, it's
All
okay.
right. All right. Well,
It's
14.
still okay.
Well, what's the what's your local currency there? I forget.
Rupees,
Rupees.
rupees.
Oh, you're also in
Yeah,
rupees. Okay. I knew it was
yeah,
India, but I wasn't sure if it was also in
yeah,
Pakistan. Okay.
yeah.
So if that's 14 rupees at the end of the week, is that gonna be okay?
Oh yes, it's okay. For adventure, I can do.
Yeah, but you're not gonna pay your bills, are you?
Okay, but
With
I
with
don't have to pay my bills weekly.
all right. Okay. Okay.
It is
So
monthly, so I will
yeah,
see.
but 14 and a month was okay. It might be a little more, but is that going to be enough at that rate? Do you think it's going to be enough by the end of the month?
By the end of the month, yes.
You're very confident.
Okay.
Okay, hang
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
I need to find my table of math here because I don't
Okay.
remember how it goes. So I remember it's 14 days after. I mean 14 after a week,
Uh-huh.
and I know it's not 28 after 2 weeks. Uh, come on now, where are you? Uh, I had this up. Yeah, I just saw it yesterday, and I don't find it. All right, well, let me see. Uh, Control F.
No,
And
not 14. Not 14.
no, it's whatever. Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna find
Okay.
this. I'm gonna find this. No, it's not searching yet. Come on. Anyway, but after
It
a
will be
month,
around 21. It will
yeah,
be around
something like
21
that. Yeah. Anyway, it's
in a
very
week.
little. And then after like 2 weeks, I don't know. I think it's maybe I don't know 100 rupees or something like that. It's not
Yes.
a lot. It's
Yes.
not a lot at all. Um, but here's the point, though. So as you go along with this, are you sure that you want to continue? Because now I say and I change the game a little bit because I say, okay, I know why I have this. I need to find the exact calculation because
Yes, please.
it makes a big difference to it. So
I guess it will be 21 in the first week.
right, all right, but hang in there. I know I have this somewhere. I put it in a
Okay.
file, and I thought I said it somewhere. So Control in and then Control up. Wow, I can't believe I can't find it now. Dang nabbit. It's quite potent.
No, I'm here.
Yeah. I'm just searching. I'm just searching for it. Huh. Okay. Almost there.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to search through the whole file, yeah, and it's taking a little while. Yeah, normally I can find my things pretty quickly, but anyway. Patience is always good.
Yes, patience is always good because see, in the beginning, it was like impossible for me to communicate with you.
Not
But with my
today.
persistence and your patience, I was trying and trying and trying, and here we are. We are
There you
just
go.
smoothly communicating.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
Did you move closer to the microphone because you suddenly went quite loud? So.
Oops, sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
that's all right. That's all right.
Okay.
Did you find out where to change your settings for your microphone on your computer?
No, actually, I'm trying, but there's no option available. And I
Okay,
tried to
so
call that person.
on the little speaker icon, in the
No,
bot,
no,
you got to right click on that.
because yeah, but the Chromebook settings are different.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but after Eid, today was the first day. So I will
Oh,
call it.
okay.
Yeah, I will call that man tomorrow, and I will
All
ask
right.
him.
Okay. Oh no. Dang it. Why am I not finding this now? Uh, let's try it differently. Mm, that's no good either. Okay, let's try that. Searching for that. I can't believe I can't find it. And it's so funny. I just saw it yesterday, and it was quite random that I saw it. It was really wild. And in the place that I saw it, when I search, I can't. Let's see. Let's try a different one. Okay, let's try searching for that. Ooh. Oh, Why do you mean you couldn't talk to me in the beginning? I thought you talked to me just fine.
No, you remember when my laptop was creating problem? Yeah.
I took it more, from a communication point. I didn't think you meant it like literally. I thought you meant like you couldn't say things to me.
No, 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 no.
So I was saying that doesn't make any sense, you know.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? That's it. It's just the power of patience. And you know what? We'll get into that a little bit more at one point to really know where how patience is leveraged. You know, it's a huge deal. You know, a massive thing that we go patience, discipline, forbearance creates timing. So through patience, we actually create timing. Especially if you can wait with discipline and you can wait with forbearance, we actually create and we make things happen through patience. But we have to give the universe a chance to allow that intent to formulate, right? And to come into place. Because when we intend things, we're really asking the universe to rearrange itself to our benefit, no?
But yes, but can we create timings too?
Yes, we can. That's my point. When you wait with deliberation and you wait with patience and you wait and you have the ability to forbear, then at some point the timing is going to come about just automatically. So you create that timing simply by waiting and being attentive, being alert, being aware, right? Then that's how you create the timing. So create is like, all right, a little bit loose. You're basically just allowing timing to happen. But because you're not unhooking from the ability to connect to the timing, in that sense you then create it. So yeah, we do.
Oh my God.
Oh man,
Really? Yeah,
uh, I'll have to search my files in a different way. I can't
no,
believe that I can't find this. It's pretty well.
it
uh,
makes sense. It makes sense.
oh yeah.
Yes, it is quite logical.
Yes,
But
has to be, everything has to be logical.
it it feels like, wow, why nobody else or even me never think like this before? How could we ignore this? How could we not see this?
Why?
By this point of view, wow.
It's just a matter of getting on a path of getting into that habit of thinking things, and it's exponential, like we were saying before. When you think of things in that way, you start to think, and then it leads to more, and more leads to more, and it becomes exponential, and then that's how you get to think of things. So it just we get put off sometimes. We get put off by the immensity of learning, but once we understand exponential, then the immensity of learning is not such a big deal. And that's why I'm making the effort to find my file here,
Yeah.
because it's really worthwhile. And I know I have this in a file. I just don't remember where I saved it. So I always find it eventually. It just takes a little bit of time. So.
No, it's okay. It's
But
okay.
yeah, so funny. I saw it in Skype. Actually, I'd shared it with Olivia, and for some reason, Skype opened, and there it was. But now, when I try and search for it in Skype, I can't find it. So it's really peculiar. It's just quite anomalous.
Oh
So
yeah. Ah.
okay, let's see. Hmm.
It's really funny. When I was new here, in the beginning, when I was on Facebook and I joined group, it's mostly astrology groups, and some. I'm a member of a group named "Become What You Believe," and a very dear friend Brad is admin there.
It's named what? Say again. Something to believe.
Become what you believe.
Oh, become what you believe. All right.
Yeah, and the Brad is he's a very dear friend, and they do meditation together. They do chakra meditation and all that. But
Ah,
I read terms there. People were talking about omens and the totem and other things, and I was like, "What is this? How these guys can even think like this?" Because this is something really abstract and kind of it. And I was like, "Oh yes," and people talking about numbers, seeing numbers, and I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
no, but I actually never cares about these things. Honestly, I said, no. How does it comes to be like significant in my life? If I'm seeing some number, how can be people so observant or so particular about these numbers or omens or any totem or all that? But I was ignorant. because these things has meanings, and
Yeah.
people, because they are tuned with that thing. They are
Yeah.
aligned with that thing, so they are
Yes.
receiving. I was not aligned, so I was not feeling anything. I was not having anything from these. Uh, Now you're using the term anomaly, but
Right.
yeah, because I was not aligned, so that thing was absurd for me. That thing was like, oh,
Wow.
what is
Interesting.
this?
Right. Right.
But I do saw many things, and I was like, yeah, why I'm seeing this number? Why I'm seeing this? Why this thing is happening to me? It is so unusual. But yes, things happen. I was ignorant. I was not aware. Actually, not ignorant. I was not aware. But now I see things in a different way, in a different
Wow.
manner.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That's huge. That's something big. Um, that when you look at things, just the concept of anomalies and
Yeah.
shifting that perception away from omens and portents, because by implication, an omen, it says there's a particular meaning to an omen, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's not so. That's not the way it works. It's always pertinent and relevant to the now, to what's going on inside you, to what you need to know then, right there. So anomalies are about the now, in the immediacy of now, and about pertinence and relevance. So they're always according to you now. Yes, sometimes they may overlap and they may seem like they have a usual meaning, but it's not so at all. It's definitely not so at all. And that's very, very important to understand. That's very important to understand. So
Yes, it is. But no one can understand. Even no one can will take seriously unless he or she is aligned or tuned with
right,
that village.
right,
Otherwise,
right.
it's funny. Oh,
Exactly.
so
And you
what? If I'm seeing this, if I'm having this, so what?
right,
It's just normal
right,
incident.
right. And here's the point though. You need to make that deliberate specific effort to attune to what the
Yes.
anomaly could mean for you. Right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's the whole logic of the anomalies, is that you gotta figure it out for yourself. You gotta work it out. So that's pretty big. Um All right. Well, I'm still searching. I'm very amazed that I'm having such a hard time finding this. But so you mentioned something else that while I'm waiting for my searching here, um,
Yeah.
that you said about how you got to be into astrology. How did that come about?
Actually, astrology is with me when I was a toddler. Where my birth name was Saira, and my parents choose that, and I got sick.
How do you spell Syra, by the way?
Saira,
S-A-I.
I
Oh,
R A.
Yeah, S-A-I-S-A-I. Okay, all right. Hey, Syra. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool.
and uh, and when I was young and I felt sick and I was very seriously sick and my tests were cleared even by tuberculosis and all that tests, and
Wow, wow.
my parents were worried because of fever, high fever, and all these things. So a Vedic astrologer, a friend of my father,
A
he came
Vedic,
and he
you
said,
say a Vedic astrologer?
yes.
Okay.
And he came and he said, this name doesn't suit her. So why don't you change her name? And my parents were worried. So he says, okay. And he says, her name to with letter, start with letter B. And my father and my mother choose Beena.
Wow.
And and when I grew up, and I realized that astrology actually took away my name, snatched away my real name,
Wow.
and astrology is. So I was not really interested in that, but I still I can't explain it. But whenever an astrologer or a spiritual person or saints or these kind of people, they saw me, they want to talk to me always, and
Wow.
I was trying to hide. I always try to hide myself from
Wow.
them, but even from a very young age, they start picking me out like, okay, come here. Even in the crowd, they said, okay, you come here, little girl. You must come here. Show me your hand and tell me your name. And this unwanted attention was really bothering.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And, I mean, I was like in my, I guess I was 12, 13 or something like age. I really don't remember actually what age I was, but uh, one of my family friends, he said, "Okay, show me your hand," because he was doing palmistry, and all the girls and boys were showing their hands, and he
Ah.
just asked me. I was avoiding, but still he insists. And when I go there, he says, "Oh God, you have a huge, amazing brain, and an amazing heart, but your health line is so weak." I said, "What it means?" And he said, "You have to be really careful about your health." I said, "Okay," because I was so
Wow.
young, so I didn't understand what he is trying to say. He said, and he was looking into my eyes, and he says, "Okay, now I'm saying it. Be really careful about your health, because around the age of uh, 20, 25, you will get sick, really sick,
Wow.
seriously sick, and there are very slim chances that you will survive."
Wow.
Oh yes, it was horrible, and
Wow.
and
But
I
and,
got
and
it.
how old were you when he said this?
I was like 13. I
Oh
guess yes,
wow.
13, 12, and it was really bad thing to say to any younger
Oh
of that
yeah.
age.
Oh yeah. Because he
That,
can make
okay,
it a
yeah.
self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
Oh yes, and it was horrible, and I was feeling embarrassed in front of other people, and I went into severe, serious depression.
Wow.
And I decide, okay, if I have a very short life, why should I waste my time in going to school and studies and all that and future planning?
Brilliant. 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 So there was some good that came out of it. Oh, I like that. I like that. I like that.
And and why not just enjoy food and take naps and sleep and all that?
Oh wow. Wow. Okay. Not so brilliant, but never mind.
Yes, I was. This is what I was doing because I
You
feel no
became
hope.
indolent. You became indolent.
I was a hopeless kind of a person that time, and I started just neglecting my studies. And I just said, because I don't need to study. Why? Because I will die soon.
Yeah, yeah. But you became a philosopher in that time.
Oh, and after that, after just a couple of years, somehow I just realized that okay, I am the luckiest person on this earth because nobody has a surety that he or she will live tomorrow. But someone
Right.
gave me a hope that I will definitely live till 20 or 25.
Ah, you turned it around. You did some perspective shifting. That was profound. That's a profound
And
perspective
I
shift. Look at that magic of that perspective shifting, right?
yes, I said, wow, I am the luckiest person here because nobody knows actually when they will die. Maybe
Right,
tomorrow, maybe
right.
just after an hour.
But
And
you know
I'm the
exactly when. Yeah.
yes.
Oh, that's magical. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What a gift.
Then I start
Wow.
just enjoying.
And silly girl, he didn't
Uh-huh.
say you will die. He said you'll be sick. You assume die,
Yes,
which
yes,
was
yes. I assume
completely
that because
mistaken, right?
yes, because I was young, and
Right,
I was feeling embarrassed of this unwanted attention.
right.
Because I'm not just bragging about this, but the unwanted attention from men was always with me. So
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
so embarrassed
Oh,
for that.
lots of girls, it's
Yeah,
sad, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But it was there for me. So I was like, okay, yes. Now this uncle is also just trying to get my attention or just making me embarrassed in front of other people.
Right.
So I kind of hate astrology. Kind
Wow.
of, kind of a hate
Yeah,
astrology.
yeah,
But
yeah.
astrology gave me that pain of suffering, of depression, and all that.
Right, right.
But that astrologer thing was still there because wherever I just got somehow in the same premises, they asked me, "You come here." It was like I did something wrong in my previous lifetime or something, because it was my karma. They just pulled me out of crowd. I always try to hide, but they just pulled me out. Okay, you come
Interesting.
here. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
And again, uh, one of the my father's known person, uh, he said, okay, my mother you is very interested in astrology, by the way. So she went there, and I was with her. I was not interested, but she said, okay, Beena, and try to, and the uncle said, okay, yes. And suddenly he says, Beena, would you like to learn astrology from me? I said, what?
This is your mother's friend now, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he says, would you like to learn? I said, no, I can't. He says, yes, you can, because this is in your birth chart. This is in your destiny, because you have to learn and you can learn. I said, no, I can't. It is so
Wow.
difficult for me. And I simply refuse it. But that man, he asked me again and again, but just after 3 or 4 months, he passed away.
Wow. He persisted, yeah?
Yeah. And he passed away. And I was like, okay, now I feel, I said, okay, surrender. Now I'm surrendering myself. This is in my destiny. So why not just try to learn what is it this all about? Why people are saying that you have to learn, you have to do this. And then I start learning by myself because I hate astrologers.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Because I
Wow.
hate astrologers. They were very cruel with me. So
Right.
I said, okay, I will learn. And in the meantime, one of my older friends, she ditched me. She somehow just take away my project and submit by her name. So I was in depression. So I isolated myself in my home and just quit my education and everything. And but just my desktop computer and me. I was spending whole day just looking at the screen, trying to understand astrology by myself and pondering my head actually, because nothing was making sense to me.
Wow. Wow.
But I was just doing this like a maniac. Like, and my
Like a
mother was
what?
saying, like a maniac. My
A
mother,
mimic, you mean? M-I-M?
no, no, I'm saying maniac,
Oh, oh,
MANIAC.
oh, maniac. Ah, maniac.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And my mother was saying, Dina, you will burn your eyes because whole day
yeah.
you're studying, sitting here and looking at this screen. What are you doing? I said, no, I have to learn. I have to learn. I need to learn this. And this is when I make my Facebook account, and this is when I all these things happen to me.
Wow.
The
So,
story.
that all that, the pursuit of astrology, it led you to Facebook, really,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then you started to research that on Facebook, obviously,
Yes, yes.
right?
Then I made a Facebook account, and for 1.5 year, I was not using it for any communication, any kind of, not a single comment, like nothing.
Right, right,
Just account and just to read things.
right, right.
And after that, Hisham, guy from Morocco, he made himself my friend, and then the whole story changed. So
Wow.
so I believe, so that's why I'm a strong believer in normally and other things also, because this is what
Wow.
happens to me.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
how my life.
Your life is
Yeah.
filled with anomalies. It's quite magical.
Yes, yes. So
Yes, it's
this
quite
is how I am, and this is how what I am. I become.
right. That
So it's a continuous process of learning every day.
Yes, but when we understand how anomalies make sense, then it's all different because we have to
Yes,
also understand that it's all about intent, right? So we're still talking about how things make sense. In the
yes,
context of how things make sense, and we have to understand that everything is intent. Energy is intent. We are
yes,
a little part of the overall bigger intent. So the intent is to perfection. Also, the intent is to be aware of the perfection. Because without awareness, there's no ability to appreciate, right?
mm,
So we have to, in other words, have that awareness, is that an intent to awareness and the intent to consciousness. So So the anomalies, or the way the universe is set up, we're saying, wait a second, we have to grow this awareness, this conscious, deliberate awareness has to grow. Okay? So
Yeah.
therefore, we take that we're starting off from that zero, or sort of almost zero. It's actually, we start off on a minus, with that a negative programming, so we have to get
Mm-hmm.
rid of it. So that's really why. But anyway, so as we're growing our things, we're in the system, this perfect system. But really, we are the ones who have made the system, because we are intent, and intent has intended these little parts of itself, and to become conscious of the wholeness, so that the all of intent can be conscious of itself, right? So
Yes.
intent wants perfection, intent wants to do
Okay.
more, intent wants to be conscious. So essentially what I'm trying to say, the way the anomalies work also, their power, their magic, is because we are the ones who are describing this particular universe we're in. So in that, of course, we are going to describe what we need, and that's how it can be magical, because we know what we need.
Oh,
It's not that magical. It's just, well, if we subconsciously know what we need, we're just trying to make ourselves consciously aware of what we already know, which is the everything. But we're trying to be conscious of it. You know what
wow.
I mean? So that's how come it makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
That-
that's why people say that okay, uh, to have anything, to get anything, or to learn anything, you just have to put yourself on the path, and the universe will take care. It is like you have to do
right.
your work, like
Exactly.
for being on this path and setting your intent, and all the rest of the action or reactions required will be take care by universe itself.
Exactly. Because if we have that intent to awareness, that intent to goodness, we have to trust our intent to goodness. And we have to also
Yes.
entrust that, hey, if I have, like, let's say there's this part of me that knows everything, right? But it's not consciously aware of everything. So I'm the universe, in
Okay.
other words, right? And I'm
Yes. Okay.
thinking now, okay, so I've got everything's going, but I'm not consciously aware of it. And I want
Yes.
perfection. I want to be consciously aware of everything. I want to feel everything.
Mhm.
I want to know it all, but I want to consciously know. I want to just have it be there. So now I create this path of getting that consciousness and that awareness for real, not just to have it all subconscious, kind of vague, just there. I want to know it deliberately, right? So that's my intent, and I manifest a reality in which this can happen, which is the reality of individuality, right? But I also don't want to be alone, so I manifest others and their paths, because I say, well, I'm looking at this from the exquisite sensibility of the overall genius of everything. And I say, well, in that case, I've got to have diversity, because I don't know which path is going to get me to this overall awareness the quickest. They have to try all the paths, right? So I'm basically running this giant computer experiment, and I'm saying, okay, well, there's billions of potential paths to awareness, to full conscious deliberate awareness. I don't know which one is going to work. I'll just try them all. I run them all, right? And that's how we get to
Wow.
individuality. Okay. So now, but
Uh-huh.
the end point of it, though, is that also for each individual, saying they have to figure it out for themselves. They have to learn, and therefore that what the anomalies is the way to help them, like we described earlier, how it all makes sense. So the anomalies, of course, are going to be pertinent and relevant to them, and it's going to seem magical, but really the universe is a revolving around, because it's fluid reality, the universe is, it's revolving around each individual, and it's their manifestation of things. Yes, there's some overlap with others, because they believe similar things, so that's why there's conformity, and it makes it work, and they can learn from each other. It's all perfect. But yeah, it just, without going through the whole long explanation.
Oh, anomalies, sorry to interrupt you,
No, that's
but
okay.
yeah, anomalies are like in a computer program. We made some conditions like, okay, if the person hit this button, this thing will happen. If he hit it twice, this thing will happen. So, like, if a person just get the anomaly and act accordingly, then this thing will manifest in his life or
Right,
her life.
right,
And
exactly.
if he didn't, then he will go on this path and continue doing this or that.
Right,
So
right.
it is like a conditional loop we are creating. Anomalies are conditional loop in a computer software, and
Exactly.
if you grab that opportunity, if you hit that opportunity like that button, Anomalies are conditional buttons. If you hit it, so you will manifest, or you will open the door.
Right.
Otherwise, you must continue on the path. Okay, yes. Oh
Right.
wow, wow, wow.
Exactly. But the point I'm trying to make is that, anomalies seem magical to us, or we seems like there's magical stuff in our lives. But really, if we kind of know it all, it's not that magical if you know things ahead of time. All you are doing is you're connecting to what somebody needs to learn, right? Through
No,
our
say it
intent.
again.
It's not that magical because we're connecting to what we need to learn, and we're just extracting it out of the allness that we already know, and we just are highlighting that which is pertinent and relevant to us,
Yes,
right?
yes, right, right. It is because we call magic whenever we see something, some happening, some sign or event or whatever. When we see something which is ahead of our time, or you can say that faster in time, manifesting in a really high speed, and we just didn't observe the speed of the action behind that, so we said it is magical.
Right, right,
Actually, it is normal thing. It is a
right.
normal manifestation or incident, but with the higher speed. So we just missed the process. So we said, oh, it's magical, because we didn't observe the process of making behind that. So we called it magical.
Oh, sorry, you went very loud. I was struggling to hear you. I was kind of fiddling with my thing here. So say that again. You just
Okay.
was very loud there. I
Okay.
couldn't connect.
I'm saying. Okay. Now it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I feel that sometimes we say that, okay, this thing is magical. Oh, it's like magic, because the speed of that happening, the process behind that of making this thing happen was really fast, and we missed it. We just didn't observe that, so we said it is magical.
All right,
Actually,
right.
yes,
There's
this is
that.
the same thing.
Right.
This is the same thing. Like we all have, like our life and our universe, but with a higher or a different speed.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So we call it magical.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So nothing
Yeah.
is magical, but all is magical.
Right. Right. But I mean, if you're looking at it from the point of view of us being the universe and we intending this path to awareness, we already
Right.
know everything. We just don't know it consciously. So we can
Yes.
connect
Yes.
ourselves to it, but we want to know it consciously. So it's not that magical, for us to make magic, because we kind of already know how we can connect to an anomaly that seems magical, but it isn't really. Right.
Yes, yes, yes. And now you just make it really sensible to me, because it was
Right.
mystery before, that
Right.
anomaly and omens or totems or everything. But now it is more sensible, more logical to me, because now I know that, okay, yes, if it is there, I need to figure it out for myself, and my own feelings, my consciousness will tell me what it's actually meaning for me right now, at
Right.
this particular
Right.
time, in this particular situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so now it's no more mystery, but like, okay, yes, I got something. Okay, now I have to act accordingly. I got
Right.
a sign.
Right. Like you say, it's not that mystical, really.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah.
but
It is more logical now after your
right.
explanation.
But
Yes.
now that we do have the explanation, it becomes more magical in a way too, right? When we
Oh
have the
yes.
shift
Oh
of
yes.
perspective. It
More
just
potent,
right.
because we know
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
if something is
Exactly.
happening, it means yes, there is something. There is
Right.
something.
Right. Right.
I can't ignore it now.
Right.
Before
It's
I could ignore easily.
right. Right. It's something else. You know what I mean? It's just quite marvelous. Quite marvelous. Right.
It, yes. So another amazing thing is when we explain things, when we have precise or appropriate and backable, you can say, explanation of anything, it always add value.
Right. So, how do we get to that? Awareness plus
Yeah.
discernment leads to understanding, which adds to you, ADU, right?
Yes. Add to. Yes, it always adds to. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Because before these
That's
things
just
were foggy. Now they are clear, and but with more value to
right.
me.
Exactly, exactly.
Wow. Wow.
It's just quite unbelievably, awesomely astonishing. The magicalness of everything, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Uh, First time, whenever someone just talk to you, your energy is so high, so vibrant, so strong, and the knowledge or the wisdom you gave was so overwhelming, and I was feeling drained when after a session, but in the second it just get normal, a bit normal, and now I'm feeling like okay, now it's okay, now I can handle this, now I can handle more, I can handle more. So there is always more
Wow!
and I can handle
Wow!
more.
Wow! Wow!
Same with Ryan and Michael and Janelle, because in the beginning you saw them, like they were saying, "Oh,
Yeah!
my brain is
Yeah!
frying,"
Yeah!
but now they're saying, "Okay, yes, we can discuss, but
Right! Right!
a bit more."
Right. Yeah, it's just that's why I understand this, and I really hear what you're saying. I know this is going to be the way it is, but we have to understand that yes, initially it's overwhelming, but it's to give an idea of the path going forward. And we say, wow, this is big mountain, we got to start climbing it. And then as we go, it gets simpler and simpler and simpler. So we don't
Yes,
have to worry too much about it. Yeah, yeah,
no,
pretty cool.
because it was in the beginning. I was like, wow, how could I handle all these things in
Right,
one single session? It is huge. It is so huge for me. But
right,
I said, okay. And then after 2 or 3 days, it gets sink in, and I said, okay, now I'm ready for the second one. So I just said,
right,
okay, now.
right,
And
right,
then I said, okay, now I want more. And now I want more.
right,
So
right.
yesterday I try to attend all these sessions. Okay, yes, because I want more. I need more and I
Yeah.
want more.
Yes, exactly, exactly, and that's the magic of everything. It's that wanting more, and that's why when I started with we touched on so much more those first few takeaway sessions, because it was to get into that.
Yes.
Uh, uh, to make you just connect to that moreness, to
Yes.
engender and to elicit that
You knew
wanting
that.
more.
You knew
Yes,
that. You
yes,
were aware. We were not.
right,
We were not.
right.
So for us it was overwhelming. But you knew that what is happening.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So you know what? It's just I understand how learning works, and I understand that
Yeah.
in the beginning it seems to be overwhelming, but we just have to persist. We can't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So we can't worry
We
about
were not aware at that time. Yeah.
it. Right,
We were not aware. And I'm really thankful to myself that okay, Beena, you just continue that.
right,
Because I'm
right,
really thankful to myself. Okay, I continue because this is but now I'm really
right,
enjoying this.
right.
I said,
But
wow.
after all of that overwhelm from the beginning, there, how can you not
Yeah.
continue?
Oh yes, of
You,
course.
you know what I mean? Because there's so much wow, like wow, it's like man alive. This is like really cool stuff. How can I not want more of this, right?
Yes,
Right, and that
yes,
that that,
I,
that was the logic behind it, and also to show that there's a completeness to what we're doing. It's not just a
yes.
little bit here, a little bit there. That there's a
No.
bigger picture that we're heading toward, and we just in today's chat that we did, we kind of jumped to the end of it, right? But that's fine. That's okay too. We know what the end point is. Now we're going to fill in all of like we said, we want to go from New York to Los Angeles,
St.
right?
Petersburg, yes.
Or St.
Yeah.
Petersburg, right? But how do we get there exactly? We need a route. We need a map. Okay, I got to take a plane. I got a ship. I got to take this road. So now we know where the destination is. We're gonna fill in precisely how to get there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you know what? I was asking you random questions like, okay, I asked you about dark stuff, and I start talking about anomaly. And in the beginning, we were talking about trust, capillary trust, and effectability, and all that. And I was observing that okay, are these all these concepts connected and appropriate with each other, to each other? And
right,
yes, yes, because wherever we go, no matter how random we just ran over, like, okay, it's from here to there and all that, at ends, we came to same thing again and again. It means it is logical, it is sensible, it is
right,
appropriate.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Very simple.
look at
Very
how
simple.
diverse. Yeah. Now how diverse we were talking, but at the
Right.
core, we came to the same point again and again. It proves that these things are sensible.
Exactly.
Made.
Exactly. I mean, and that's just the whole point of everything, is that it has to be self-explanatory. It
No
has to be
contradiction.
self-evident. Exactly. It has to
No
be.
contradiction.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we want. We want that sensibility, you know.
Yes. That's why we don't need to believe. We just need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh man,
It is.
I'm still not finding my file, and I'm actually trying to create it in the spreadsheet, and I can't remember how to do it. Just,
Oh,
I got the little formula, and I can't copy the formula. That's really weird. I don't know why. Hmm.
wow.
Very strange. Very
No,
strange.
it's okay. It's okay. I can say that it's an anomaly. You might need that. You might need to work
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. Still, I'm now I've started on it. I'm determined. So okay, copy, make the range. Yeah. So I just wanted to do like an autofill, uh, but it's not doing that. Oh. Maybe this is where I need to do it. I want to paste the formula. There we go. Wow, that didn't help either. You just made it exactly didn't update it.
Hmm.
Oh. I don't know if you've ever worked in a spreadsheet or not. Have you?
Uh, Not really, but I just saw that somebody, my friends were working, so I know that, but not really. I
Right.
can't say that I've worked there.
Well, normally, you copy stuff like this, it works automatically.
Mm.
I don't know why I'm having trouble with it now. Maybe it's because it's this. Yeah. Well, let's try the whole thing again. No. It's usually very simple to do this, like really super simple. All right. So we try this again. Hmm. Oh, that's how I got to do it. And then when you came onto Facebook and you started discovering the astrology, what did you get from there?
Uh, from astrology point of view, I just it was I feel like it's a medium uh, to get through or towards spirituality more into. And then the consciousness and other concepts came, and that the start law of attraction and all that. And then I feel that okay, astrology is also very important. Yes, it is. Still, it is. But for me, it was just a way. It was the medium through which I come towards these concepts, and then I start thinking about. And Alan is like my mentor, so he asked me, Beena, what is randomly he asked me, okay, what is wisdom and what is information for you? I said, why? Okay, he said, okay, why don't you use Google? I said, no, I don't want to use Google. He says, okay, then write it down in your own words. What comes to your mind when you think about wisdom and when you when you think about information or knowledge? And I said, okay, and then write it down. And then he start asking me random questions, and he trained my mind to think. think independently, individually, deeply in my
Ah,
mind. Yeah.
interesting. Interesting. And in what way you mean, like trained to think? Like how exactly?
He says like these terms were in my, yes, in my knowledge. Like yes, I know that, okay, this wisdom, because I don't have any college degree. So he said, okay, start reading and start thinking. And I said, okay. And he says, what is wisdom? What comes to your mind when you think about wisdom and knowledge? And I said, okay. He says, write it down and email me. I said, okay. And he says, why don't you use Google? I said, because I want to know what I have in my mind. He said, this is the best
Yes,
thing.
exactly. You want to figure it out for yourself.
Yes. And he says, this is the best thing. So start doing this. And after that, I start writing about different terms.
Right.
Like,
So
okay, what
so
is
so
this?
you do realize that that's when you became a philosopher, right? So that's
It's a
if
huge
you if you
person.
well, I know, but isn't that exactly what you are doing? Um,
Yes. Yes, that's why I said that the words and terms are really important for me, because I feel that we just disrespect words, we use we corrupt them, we misuse them, and
right.
that's and even it's not a small thing, because we said that, okay, I use the wrong word. No, when a person use the wrong word, it actually gives the wrong idea. It
Yeah.
implants a wrong idea in someone's
Right.
mind.
Right.
So
But
words are really important.
inappropriate rather than wrong.
Yes, yes,
Right.
inappropriate,
Right. Right.
inappropriate
Right.
idea or understanding. So it is, and sometimes people use words for their commercial purpose. They use inappropriate words or not suitable words for that
Right.
thing, and,
Exactly.
for the commercial purpose, to confuse customers and clients, potential customers and clients. And this thing is just spreading, because the if you can say the thing, if you can explain the thing in just a few lines or few words, you don't need to write 20 pages. You don't need to, because people
Right.
just writing
Right.
and using wrong or inappropriate terms and words for that, which confuse the reader.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's all about clarity, right?
Yes,
Isn't that amazing? How just when we
yes,
make that effort to clarify things, how it all falls into place, right? And
yes,
the big point for you though is that you made the effort to work it out for yourself. You didn't want to just get the answer from Google, right?
yeah. Because I said, okay, Alan, he's my friend and he is my mentor. He's not like my school teacher. So
Uh,
I feel that, okay, I have to complete my assignment. I said, no, I will think about it and I will write it down and I will send it to you. And he said, this is the best thing. This is what I want you to think and rethink and question and to create answer, because you
right,
have all the
right.
answers.
You
He
wanted to
always say that.
figure it out for yourself.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's really huge. That's really powerful.
And I really don't know that is it right or not, but this thing is just comes to me, and I'm writing something about this, that uh, as human we are developing a new sense. We are having a new sense, a digital sense, because this is what I believe, that all human beings who are using digital devices or digital communication, we are also creating or having or developing a new sense, which is in a lame term, I can say that a digital sense, because we are uh, extracting more in from typed words.
Tight or typed?
No, typed,
Oh,
typed.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
So,
interesting.
because this is something I've just write down about this. I don't know, baby. I could be totally wrong, but this is what I feel. Because I feel and I observe that digital communication through digital communication. We are not just depending, because we can feel, we are feeling different emotions through digital communication, which is really amazing. So I feel that we are humans are developing new sense, a digital sense.
Wow, I like that. You know.
I know that it could be totally foolishness or something, but I'm doing.
No, I'm
I'm
listening.
working.
I'm listening. It's powerful stuff. It's very cool. Very cool.
Because when you receive a text from a person, even before that, or with the precise words, with precise explanation, still you extract more out of it.
Yeah.
You can feel that, you can feel what is going. So how we are feeling, yes, we have that attached feeling, or uh, communication through minds and souls and all that, but still digital communication is something really powerful, and it is in a process of development. So we are also developing a new sense, digital sense, which I call.
Wow.
So
You said a communicative sense?
yes,
Huh. That's very cool. No?
maybe
So
someday you will
how do you
read
mean
my
it?
essay on it.
Oh, I want to read it today as a post in the group.
I'm writing it, but not finished yet. But I will post it, because you gave me a whole bunch of confidence. You just gave me confidence that, okay, Beena, you can do this. I was feeling embarrassed. I was feeling shy, but now I'm posting, so I will post. Okay.
Ah, I like that. I like that. That's very cool. That's very cool. I like that. I like that. Uh, Hang on one second. I'm almost where I need to be. Figuring this out as I go along, which is always good. I try not to remember things. I try to have it so that I can, if I forget, then I can just figure it out again. I only remember the essentials. In other words, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and that's the key point. So. And I think I'm getting where I need to be now. Oh,
In our today's discussion, we missed one thing. You touched that, and you just we just moved on to something else. It was about knowing your individual path, and knowing or understanding your individual path. We just touched that, and we just moved on to another way.
how to understand your individual path? Sorry, I'm not quite.
Yes, yes,
Oh, uh,
yes. So not necessarily to today, but we will discuss.
oh, right. Like how to find out what your
Yes,
individual
how
path
to find
is.
it. Yes,
Ah, right.
yes,
And how would you say that would be after our discussion today?
yes.
What would be your answer?
No, you started that. You would start talking about that. You were explaining, and then you moved on to something else.
No, I understand, but I can't remember the context. But I mean, yeah, it's a big topic. The thing that I'm
Yes,
trying to say is uh, that
I asked you that, okay, how to find our individual path, how to find that way, because like me, I just pour up, you can say that I just throw myself into that thing. Okay, things will come and I will see what happens to me, because I was in nowhere in the beginning. Still I'm nowhere in nowhere, but in the beginning I was totally lost. I said, okay, here I am, and I'm just waiting for something to come, and I will start doing. So whatever comes to me, I start reading, I start proceeding towards that. So first was astrology, and that spirituality, and then other things also come. So it is, for me, it is like grabbing everything, every opportunity.
right. So in the context of what we said today, in the way the universe and the world and everything makes sense, how would you
Yes.
find your individual path? Through attunement and anomalies, right?
Yeah, but uh, I really don't have any answer for that right now.
That's the answer right there. The way to find your individual path is via attunement and paying attention to anomalies.
But uh, I really don't know how to incorporate all these things here, because I told you about my story in a short, but yes, now you know that. But I was in that situation. So I just put myself, okay, I said yes, I'm here, I want to learn. And every single day I was saying, oh yes, there are a lot of things I want to learn, I have a lot of questions, I need an answer. And I was just searching through astrology came up. I said, okay, through astrology I will seek answer. And then the astrology is from astrology, the spirituality dimension came. I said, okay, from spirituality I will seek my answers. And people were coming. Yes, from the astrology, people were come, and then through spirituality, people come into my life, and they were explaining things to me. They were showing me the way, and still now yeah, I am saying it with you can say that with 100% surety now. I can say that you are the one who gave me the most answers. You can the most precise and the answers to my almost all the questions. I
Right,
still do have some
right,
questions, but yes, you just gave me a lot of things in
right. So
just in few sessions.
right. So I'm going to leave that question, how to find your own personal
Okay.
path. I want to leave it there. I want to let it stew and sit inside you and formulate, because I did give you the answer, but you're not connecting that how to apply
Yes.
that answer, which is fine.
Yes.
It's going to stick in your mind, and you say, well, you know what? The answer is through attunement and anomalies, but, and then you're going to answer those buts. All right, so
Yes.
so so let's. I figured out how to do it. I just redid the whole thing. I just figured out how to work the little formula and do my calculation. Okay, so
Okay.
to get back
Okay.
to our point about your salary, right? So I'm
Yes.
gonna employ
Yes.
you, and I say, okay, I'm paying you whatever I'm paying you, and say, okay, so the first day I'm gonna pay you 1 penny, 1 cent, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
not
Yes.
one rupee, 1 cent. Okay,
Okay.
so then on the second day you're gonna get 2 cents, and the second day you're gonna get 4 cents, and the second day you're gonna 8 cents. So at the end of the week you're going to get 1 rupee and 28 pennies.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. That changes a little bit, right? Because it's not cumulative. You don't add them
Yeah.
together. It's like what you get on that day, right? So after the second day, you get
Ah.
paid two
Yes.
cents on that. So you don't get paid the 1 cent on the first day. It's just one, two, and then so if you're going to get paid at the end of the week, it's whatever that amount is at the end of the week, right? It doesn't add
Oh
together.
yes.
All right, but even if it
Ah.
added, even if it was added together, it's going to be whatever the next day is to be $2.56. Even if you kept all, even if I did pay you 1 penny on the second day and you kept it in 2 days, it would still be two rupees and 56 cents after or seven. No, sorry, after 7 days it's 64. So it's actually 64 cents. Sorry. If you added it all
Uh-huh.
together, it's 1 rupee and 28. But if you don't add it together, it's only 64 pennies after the 7 days.
Okay.
And
Okay.
after 14
Okay.
days,
Yes.
so now you say, well, you know what, that doesn't sound so exciting. But all right, so oh, computer, you're doing weird stuff here now. There we go. So we say after 2 weeks, all right, it starts to get a bit better. You adventurous. You say, well, you want to stick with it. So after 2 weeks,
Yes.
it's 81 rupees and 92 cents after 2 weeks.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, I
Yes.
don't know,
Okay.
but I say, okay, you know what? That may sound exciting if you don't have any big bills, and you're just living by yourself. You're living in your family home, whatever. You don't have any expenses. That might seem exciting, but okay, let's imagine you move out. You've got your own apartment. You got a nice house, and now it's a whole different thing. So I don't know what would be the average rental for a house in wherever you live.
Okay.
I'm asking, what
Yeah.
would be?
Are
Uh,
you okay? Around
I'm
an
sure.
average, for average, you can say
Yeah,
20,000. like.
Right, exactly. 20,000 rupees. So you're not going to be paying your rent with that 81.92, right?
No,
No. Okay. So you need a bit
but
more, though.
but
So,
yes, of
but
course. But
so,
still, we are half a month.
oh, all right. Okay. But do you think this is going to work out at the end of the month?
Uh,
Right.
yes, I
Okay.
feel
So
that.
so so what if I said, okay, so 20,000 rental. Okay. So what if I were to say I'm going to make your salary 100,000 rupees in a month? I'm going to give you a raise, and I'm going to say, okay,
Ah,
you got to choose now. We continue with this thing of the 1 penny and continue with that,
okay.
which after 2 weeks is 81 rupees.
Uh-huh.
Or I'm going to say, okay, we can just stop all of this right now. I'm not going to give you 100,000 rupees a month
Okay. 100,000 rupees a month, and I have a rent for. Still, it is exciting for me.
to continue. Ah,
Yes.
you're excited girl. You're excited girl. Okay, all right, let's go to 3 weeks then. And we say, okay, after 3 weeks, it's 10,485 rupees. So
And
you,
here I am.
and
Yes.
now it's 10,000 after 3 weeks, or 100,000. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give you that 100,000 right now. That's it. You guaranteed the
Yeah.
100,000 a
Yeah.
month, or you can
No,
continue with this other thing. What do you want to do?
I'm going to continue because I'm getting emotion now.
All right, I'm gonna raise the stakes. I'm gonna raise the stakes here. I'm gonna say, okay, Beena, you squeezing. I'm gonna raise it. I'm gonna say, okay, yeah, 100,000. That's not exciting amount. Million, that's a lot. That's exciting. Okay, now I'm gonna say I want to pay you 1 million because we've got this fantastic, internet business going crazy. Okay, it's just gone off the charts. We've gone viral. We've gone public. All this stuff. Okay, so I can pay you 1 million a month, not a year, a month. 1 million a month. And after 3 weeks, you're going to get 10,485 rupees and 1 million a month. Which would you choose?
Still, I will choose that because look at my progress. Look at my progress. I was on around 28 or something in the
Right,
in the beginning. It's
right.
64. 64. Yes.
64, right,
Yes, I
right,
was at, yeah,
right.
64 at the beginning. And here in just 3 weeks, I am at 8,000 something. Okay, I'm doing
10,000,
really well.
10,000,
10,000.
10,000,
Yes,
10,000.
I'm doing really well.
Right, right. Okay, so we say, after 27 days, it's
Yes.
671,000.
Wow.
And at 30 days after a month, if we
Yeah.
take the month to be 30 days, it's 5 million.
Yes.
And if it's a long month, you're gonna get 10 million after 31 days
Oh wow.
because
See, here's the bonus.
it
Here's the
doubles
bonus.
because
Yeah.
it doubles every day. It doubles every
Yeah.
day. So if we continue with this a little longer, not just in a month, but because we're talking about learning now, right? Instead of
Yes.
money. So learning, you
Yes.
just keep going. Now it might not necessarily double every day, but
Yes.
just for argument's sake, well, sometimes you may have jumps which is more than a doubling of your learning, right? Like a
Yes.
real huge jump. So it might even out over time. But if we keep going, I think we get to after. I'm gonna click somewhere else to bring the line up. We get to 1.7 billion after 35 days. And then it goes,
Wow.
then it goes to 3 something billion, 6 billion. Then we go to 13 billion, 27 billion, 54 billion, 109 billion after 41 days.
Wow.
Which I don't know
And
how. It depends on which country. Billion is either 100, a trillion
yes,
is either
exactly.
100 billion,
Yes.
or. But anyway, so I think we get to a trillion after 41, which is
Okay. But uh,
over
but,
a
but
hundred.
but but the most amazing thing is that okay, the amount you are having, or if even if just information or knowledge, yes. But the process is always exciting.
Right,
It's always
exactly,
exciting because
exactly,
it's not
exactly.
stagnant.
Right.
It's not
Right.
stagnant.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, in the beginning, we go 1 cent, 2 cent, 4 cents,
Yeah.
8 cents, 16 cents,
Yeah.
32 cents, 64 cents. 1 rupee 28, two, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20. It's still a little. It's all a little in the beginning, right? So,
Yes.
so that path is very slow in the beginning, but it gets quicker and quicker as we go along. and
Yes.
it just goes crazy. So we have to trust little by little leads to leaps and bounds, right?
Oh yes, yes, yes,
That
absolutely. And it is
that's
so
the whole
exciting.
point.
It is so
Exactly.
exciting.
Exactly.
The bonus part is the adventure, the excitement we will have, because every single day we are learning and we are making
Exactly.
connection to the previous terms
Exactly.
and everything, and everything coming comes together and making sense. Now here's the whole package. Now you can look
Exactly.
at the bigger picture. Wow.
Exactly, exactly, and also not to be the real point I want to make is not to be overwhelmed by learning. That it may seem like a lot,
It
but
was on the first day. I'm really honest with that. Yeah, it
right,
was on the first day. It was.
right,
I
right,
was feeling like, okay, yes, oh my God, how
right,
would I handle all this knowledge in a single day?
right,
But it was overwhelming, but it was exciting too. It was
right,
exciting too.
right.
So I came on second day, and from the second day I start getting momentum, you can say, and I start saying, okay, yes, now I want more. Now I want more. And yesterday I was watching all the interviews and I was reading posts and everything. I said, what's happening with me? Why I'm always here on this page?
Right. Yeah, it's just exciting. And I'll put that if you open up the chat there, click on the little chat icon, you'll see I'll put it all in chat I posted it for you there. The numbers, and
Oh,
that goes to like
oh yes.
50. I mean, it just becomes ridiculous. So we have to understand that learning is also like this. It seems like a little at the start, but that's how we deal with overwhelm. We have to trust that just do that little thing that you can do every day, and then it starts to add and multiply and compound, and pretty soon it starts to get really big. So we don't
Yes,
have to
because
worry about it. Right.
I was on the ground, not on the first step even, and you were just pulling me over the first step, and I said,
Right.
oh, it's huge. But
Right.
now I am on the first step, so I said, okay, it's already a first step. I'm taking the second step. I
Exactly.
must say,
Exactly.
and then second after second, I will say, oh no, it was the
Right.
first,
Right.
was just a single step more.
Now let's do that. Now let's do this in the other way around, right? Let's do
Yeah,
perspective shift. Let's reverse engineer this. So
yeah.
after 41 steps, it gets to a trillion, right? That's where that's
Yes,
how so a trillion, right? Okay.
yes,
So now we say we've got
yes.
all of this, and what do we want to do? We want to take let's just say like in that first day, right? And we got oh man, this is a trillion bits of information and stuff. It's like wow, this huge mass. I want to get to the step that I can take now today. In other words, I want to take that trillion and reduce it to one. So what do I have to do?
Uh,
I have to take that trillion and divide it by two. Step one, right? That
uh,
gives me a half a trillion. I divide that by two again and gives me and I keep going backwards. In 41 steps, I'm going to get back to 1 penny. Do you see what I'm saying?
yes,
So from the
yes.
immensity, if I just keep kind of dividing it and dividing it and dividing it, I'm going to say, okay, right here. So it's like we look at the whole world and we want to find something, right? We can say, okay, well, if it's not in this half, then I divide the world in half and I look in this half. Well, it's still too big. Let me look in this half. And I keep dividing the world in half and eventually I'm going to come to that. If there's like, a trillion, I'm going to keep dividing it off. Only after 41 times do I get to that one spot exactly where I want to be, right?
Oh,
You see what I mean? That's
ah,
the start of the
yes.
path, which is, and now all I have to do is work backward again. Okay, so now I know where to begin. I take 1 penny and I add on to the. So all we have to do is that immensity of information that we were talking about earlier, that overwhelm. I say, okay, take all of that and simply take 1 point, any 1 point, any 1 point. It doesn't matter which penny you start with, any 1 point, and start to focus on that and flesh it out and figure it out. And for instance, take impeccability at that starting point. Okay, figure out what impeccability is, and automatically, when you really think impeccability through, there's all these steps to impeccability. You're already going to be, in when you think impeccability through to the end. It's not just one step. There are like hundreds of steps involved, pretty much, or dozens, right? We're thinking, okay, what does
Yes.
impeccability mean? It's about being right. Oh, what do you mean being right? Right in just in general and not being wrong? No, no, it's about what's right to me. Oh, you mean right as in conscience? Oh, yeah, my own conscience, what makes sense to me as far as I know. So you see already, just when I say sense, when I say conscience and what sense to me, each one of those is an extra step, and it expands exponentially, that like we did those numbers. You see what I mean? We started with impeccability as 1.
Mm.
When I said right, we get to 2. Right to me takes us to 4. Right according to my conscience takes us to 8. And you see what I mean? So all of a sudden, it becomes this massive. And now we say, okay, we understand impeccability. It's also by doing what's sensible, because it's right, right? And sensibility is right. Now we're jumping again. That's a massive big jump. And we say, yes, it's sensible and it's right. And it's also, we're looking at doing this. It's what is sensibility really? Sensibility is just using our energy efficiently and effectively, right? And getting what's best for us, which really is, sobriety, right?
Right.
All right, so we,
Yes.
we connect it all together, and we just following this progression. And we're saying sobriety, wow, sobriety, in other words, it's using our energy efficiently, it's using our energy well. So impeccability really is about using our energy effectively. Okay. So what are we want to do with our energy? If we want to be impeccable and we're going to use our energy, we have to know what we're going to be doing with that energy. Impeccability may be the process, but we need a goal. And therefore we come to
Yes.
clarity of intent and focus of purpose, right?
Focus verbs.
Now, you
Yes.
see how we got to clarity of intent and focus of purpose through starting to figure out what impeccability is. They all connect together. And as we went through those steps and the exponential, they started to join together. And then, we now jumped from impeccability, we jumped to sobriety. From sobriety, we suddenly jumped to intent. From intent, we said, well, I have to know what it is. And automatically, just the next step followed, which is clarity of intent, focus of purpose. We had to know what we're doing. So, okay, well, how to have that? We want to have our clarity of intent and our focus of purpose to be so, not just for today and for tomorrow, but for all of our lives, right? Because we're thinking things through to the end, right? We're continuing that.
Yes.
So we say we want clarity of intent for our entire life, which means really, if we start to think about that, we want appropriateness in the entire life context. Okay, well, there we go. We've come to the end. We are already at the trillion right there. Because when
True.
you're trying to be appropriate in the entirety of your life, well, what more is there? Because then appropriateness in the entirety of your life and the entirety of all possible life, that would come to perfection. So right there, we come to the end of things, because perfection just becomes, after a while, those numbers just become meaningless. They become so large, then you really have to just put the infinity symbol eventually, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's perfection is really the infinity, because it just keeps on going. And perfection for us is, we say, it's that each time you double, you're getting more,
Having the
you're
power.
getting more, you're getting
Yeah.
more. It's always more, and that's it. We on our perfection is the path of always more, which is that we just keep this
Oh,
progression going, always more, always more, always more. That's our perfection. Yeah. Our perfection is not
yes.
static, in other words. That's the thing with the
Yes.
definitions of perfections. People
It
think
should not be.
perfection is static. But if we like change and we like adventure, like you, that your perfection is going to be one which is not static, which includes adventure and difference and learning and more. Of
Yes.
course, because if your perfection doesn't include more and growth and change, well, then of course it's going to be boring. That's an idiotic perfection. It can't be perfect if it's boring, by definition. So if boring means things change, well, then your perfection, your definition of perfection is including change, right?
Oh. Oh.
Very
Yes.
simple.
So
Very
now,
simple.
yes, simple, but a
So
totally new
right,
concept of
right,
perfection.
right. So
Because when we say that perfection, we have a figure in our mind like a perfect square like thing. Every
ecstatic,
corner is everywhere. Yes.
a
So
static conception, which is ridiculous. Right,
yes,
right.
this is ridiculous.
Right.
Yes.
By
Yes.
definition,
Nothing
if
certain.
perfection is not going to be boring, it has to include change.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. The capacity to change. At
Right.
least to have a capacity to change.
Exactly. Exactly.
If
Because
if not
eh,
making any change by will, but at least to have a capacity to change.
you make a very, very profound and sophisticated point. It is precisely the capacity for change which is the essential critical element. Doesn't have to change, but the capacity. Remember our original definition? It's a state of being from which, even if I have the power to change anything at all, I
Oh
don't.
yes,
Right.
yes,
So
yes,
it's the
yes.
capacity to change, precisely. Because we might get into a perfect scenario, for instance, of, let's say, euphoria or ecstasy, right? And if I'm in
Yes.
perpetual ecstasy, right, and I also have in a situation where I don't remember the previous memory of a second ago, right? So it's a fresh memory every time. And that memory is this fantastic ecstasy. I could just loop that forever, and that would be perfect. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it will be perfect. Yes, it will be
and,
perfect.
and and that would be a perfection which, yes, there is change, but it's also the same all the time, right? I'm just reliving that perfect moment over and over and over again. That's all I need.
Oh yes, yes. Oh
Right,
my God! So it is something
right.
really amazing. Wow!
However, how-
It is
however,
blow my mind.
however, we
Yeah.
have to consider that. What about
Mm-hmm.
security? Oh, in
About
what
security.
circumstance? Right, security. In other words, I need to be in a circumstance where I'm not
Yeah.
vulnerable to any potential threat in the universe whatsoever. So if I'm in this bubble where I'm just losing my memory every second and I'm repeating that, I need to be a situation where I'm completely safe, where it doesn't matter if that goes on for infinity, right? I have to be invulnerable as well, right? I can't just be repeating that memory. Yeah.
No, say it again. Say it again, please.
Okay. So we figured out a potential
Yes.
perfection which repeats itself, which is in essence static, right? But there's a
Mm-hmm.
problem with it, though. If I'm in a circumstance where I'm vulnerable to, let's say, some predator coming along and gobbling me up while I'm repeating
Yeah.
this ecstasy, second to second, well, then that's not a perfection that lasts for infinity. It only lasts until something comes and eats me, right?
Yes, of course.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so therefore,
Absolutely.
in that scenario of perfection, I have to include security, right?
Ah. Oh.
You
Oh
can't leave that
yes.
out.
Here
If you
comes the here comes the awareness again. Yeah.
Exactly, and strategy.
Yeah.
So
It's strategy. Yes.
then that's why we have to include that capacity for change, because we may have a situation where that is, more or less, like, let's say we orbiting the earth as a consciousness or something, and we don't know
Yes.
that
Yes.
there's a predator that eats consciousness, as far as we know. However, we need that capacity to change that scenario should we now suddenly become aware of a predator. So in that half a second, I say, oh, well, there's something going on. Okay, I can change. Just boom, right there. I have the capacity for change. So we
Yes.
definitely
Capacity to change.
always,
Yes.
right.
Uh,
It is essential ingredient in our whatever scenario we create that's perfect for us. And we have to hang on to and hold that capacity for change. It's very important. Very, very critical. Because otherwise you can get locked
wow.
into things which are seemingly perfect, like, for instance, that scenario described of the looping ecstasy. Yeah, it's all good and well as far as you know. As far as you know.
Yes.
That's the point. Since there's always more, we need the capacity for change to deal with the more should we encounter it. When it comes to infinity, at some point we are going to encounter everything. So we have to have the capacity to change to deal with whatever we encounter. Right?
So somehow we need a magic in our life. We have we need the perfection. We need the capacity of change. We can
Yes.
change. At
Yes.
least we have to have this
Yes.
capacity. Wow,
That's
it's
very
amazing.
critical.
It's really amazing.
It
It's
is
mind blowing.
the most essential ingredient when it comes to perfection. The capacity for
Yes.
change, right? You don't have to change. You have to have the capacity. It's very different. You don't have to
At
implement
least
change.
at least to have
Just
a
the
capacity
capacity.
to change.
Right. It's a very particular
Wow.
discernment, right? Bina, do me a favor, just because I'm assuming your battery's going to run out fairly soon.
Yes.
I want
Yes.
to I want to test your video. So until just put it on to test it to see how long it lasts, how it works for the connection, because we've had very good connection. So
Okay.
I'm curious
Okay.
to see if the video
Let
lasts.
let me just turn on the lights. Hold on for a minute. Let me
Oh,
turn
sure.
on the lights. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, let me try. I hope that it works because every single time I try the video call, it just blur my screen also. Okay. Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just saving the file while I was waiting for you, but it's taking me longer.
Okay.
Longer to type than I should be. Compounding.
Okay.
Okay. There we go. Save file. All right. So now let's get out of this. And I see you perfectly. See you perfectly.
Okay. Hey.
Beena,
Hi.
go.
Hi.
Yeah. See, this
Hi.
works. This works. Brilliant. 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 Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
All right.
so much.
Yeah, you're like me, a little wild.
Uh,
Yeah, don't worry, I'm wild
oh
too,
yeah,
man. I'm
my
wild.
hair. My hair.
Very wild. It's all good.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
so,
It
uh,
is.
so you're using the headset. Where's the microphone on
Yes,
this
I'm
headset?
using.
No, where's the
Yes.
microphone? It's oh, it's way down there. Now that doesn't have a
Okay.
volume on it to adjust the microphone right there.
No, no,
Oh,
no. And
oh,
when I'm trying to adjust my audio
yeah,
sessions, like
right,
I have audio options there,
right.
but nothing actually works. It
Yeah, but
says leave computer audio.
there is
Simple.
usefulness when it comes to to to
I have to put it down.
to
So
Google.
I'm just
Just Google how to change microphone sensitivity in Chromebook. Just
okay.
Google
Okay.
that, and they will tell you exactly how to do it.
Okay.
You'll find
Okay.
some YouTube video on how to do it. So that's the
Okay.
magic of Google, man. If you've got a problem, especially with computers, somebody else has already had it and typed it into Google. So
Okay.
very
I
powerful,
will
very
search it
powerful.
down. Thank you so much. And thank
Yeah.
you so much for this. And thank you so
Oh,
much for
it's
recording it
it's a
because
magical
it's
it's a
profound. It's
magical pleasure. Beena,
yes.
before we go further,
Yeah.
actually, what I wanted to do today wasn't actually what we did. I wanted to actually pull up the course and go through it with
Oh
you.
yes. Yes.
But you can do that on your own. Just
Okay.
do that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But we can shift this. It's all about appropriateness. I am keen for you to take the because I'll share the video of this again with you, right? The link for the video. I am
Mm-hmm.
very keen for you to take the recording and to go through it and to make notes from it and to write
Yes, I
out the
have to.
stories that you tell me, and to make
Mm-hmm.
posts of it. Make posts of your notes, the takeaways, as you listen. Ah, wow, that was really cool. Okay, let me make a post about it. It might
Uh,
take a little while,
isn't it what I did?
kind of, but I want you to make it in more
Okay.
detail because yes, you did that,
Okay.
but it's one post from a lot. This session, this is like, I don't know, this is like a month or a year's worth of posts in just what we talked about today, isn't it?
Yes, and value. Yes, and value. You can say that. Yes.
There's a lot of
Yes, I agree.
we spoke a lot of different things, and just if you go through it, there's maybe
Yes.
not a year's worth of posts, but there are a lot of posts involved in this. So break it up into the
Yes.
different things, and
About
also
protection. About yes.
right, and also to post your dictionary of
And
power.
also about the digital sensing. I was talking to you. Yes.
Right,
And
and also to
I'm
post.
writing. I'm writing about digital sense. I will write.
Right, and also the entries into your dictionary of power, like we were discussing
Mm-hmm.
impeccability, right? To say, okay, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a post about how I understand impeccability right at this point in time, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
in a week, couple of weeks, or whatever, you're going to make another post to say, hey, here's my update on impeccability. I've expanded impeccability. I've added more to the entry to the definition of impeccability to how I understand it. I've expanded on that, and this is my expansion on how I understand impeccability. Then,
Okay. Okay.
further there, you say, you know what? I'm
Mm-hmm.
updating my dictionary of power, entry, and impeccability because all of these terms are connected. And I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
look how impeccability is connected to sobriety. Ah, wow,
Oh.
okay.
Oh yes.
And
Yes.
you see what I mean? And so you carry on. In other words, it's your journey that we are
It's
not
like documenting my
document. It's
journey.
your
Yeah.
story. You're writing a book, in other words. And so
Yes.
if you're gonna write your book one sentence at a time, one sentence per day, it's gonna take a long time. So you want to do it, a little more than just a sentence a day, right? So a
Oh
post,
yes. Okay. Okay.
you see what I'm saying? If you think of it in that way, so and that's why you can make many, a couple of different posts. Like from our takeaway session today, there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot that will come out of this, So it'd be pretty profound, So and then we
Yes.
we can
Not
chat.
maybe. It is.
Right.
Yes. It is
So
profound.
so
It is
when you
profound.
when you listen to this, and you listen to this, and then you go over it, you make your notes. I want to do a Facebook Live of those notes.
Okay.
That's going to be very profound. That's why I wanted to test your video, because your video is quite fine. It's more than okay.
Okay.
So even if I
Okay.
do it the way I did with Rachel, just for the first couple of minutes, we have your video so people can kind of get to know, and then just put it on every now and then so that it's not boring. It's not just always looking at me. Like you can put your video on
Okay, I understand.
right. Put
When
your
we are
video
in
on
live
when you
communication,
talk.
yes, people do interest in
Right,
us.
exactly. And the Facebook Live, you doing the takeaway of this session through your
Mm-hmm.
notes, very profound.
Okay.
Very profound.
Okay.
Because,
Okay.
we also want to be able to be out in the world. So doing the Facebook Lives is also about confidence. It's about owning our things. It's also,
Okay.
right,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. I
right,
admit I do avoid video
right.
things and all that.
So
Yes.
we want to be able to be appropriate in all circumstances, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
we want to be more. We can't just be okay in our own little bubble, hiding away. No. We got to be able to be
Yeah, I'm
anything
not
and
in a
everything.
bubble, not hiding away.
Right, right,
But
right.
I
But
do feel more
I'm not
comfortable.
saying you are doing that, but you understand
No,
what I mean.
no, I admit I feel more comfortable with writing. I,
Right,
I, I, I I just love and I feel more comfortable with my sharing my
right,
words.
right.
If
But we
people are
want to
reading.
expand ourselves, and that Facebook
Okay.
Live, when you kind of need to explain your takeaway from your notes, you can use your notes, right? But then you're
Yes.
going to say it
Yes,
out
I have
loud.
a lot of.
That's very, very powerful because we're doing it public. It's
Mhm.
like you are committing to it in essence, because you can't say crap there. You can't say stuff that you don't believe. You can't say stuff that's not Beena. You may update it later, but at that point in time, you mean what you say, right? So it's
Okay.
kind of a commitment. And
Okay.
if we think of the Facebook Lives as a testimony, like in the Bible, the testimonies, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
new
Yes.
a testament. It's a testament to Allah, testament to the universe. Now it changes everything that we're doing. It's a very profound difference, right?
Okay.
We're
Okay. That.
taking the Facebook Lives to be a testament. Because in essence, when we really think it through to the bottom line, if we're saying this in public, because we're honest people, we're going to mean what we say. So it is a testament. Really, it is in essence that. It's a testament of what we, at this point in time, stand for and believe, and what's important to us, what we've come to understand, what's been valuable to us, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
very
It's always
powerful.
subjective. Yes.
Right. And so
Yes.
we're leveraging the power of doing it in public to make it more emphasis and therefore to stick
Okay.
in us. You see what I mean?
Okay.
Because when
I
you
need
sound
to prepare myself. Yes. I
right.
need to prepare myself for the live videos sessions and
Yeah,
all
it's
that.
all good. Right. But we don't have to do that now. Right. You have to
No. I
first
need. Yes.
yeah, right. You have to first
And
listen.
I want to discuss my notes with you before
Right,
going live. I
exactly,
want to
exactly.
discuss.
Right, right. So
This is
there's a lot of homework for us to do before that time, right?
okay.
Plus,
Okay. Fine.
plus, it's not just these notes. Actually, what I would like
Mhm.
to do in the first Facebook Live, I want to actually do your notes from the beginning, from the very first notes you
Okay.
took, and that I want
Okay.
to do. That's the first Facebook Live. So this one
Okay.
will come later because we're going to start the Facebook Lives kind of in a chronological order. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And with everybody, I didn't do it with Ryan. But on the next one, we'll do it with his notes. And I'm going to do it with Janelle. Say, hey, bring those
Okay.
wonderful notes that you make. Because he didn't do notes right away. So, but the Facebook Lives are all going to be a takeaway of your notes. And the
Okay.
value and the purpose of it, yes, there's many, many, many multi-layers of wonderful reasons. But the most profound reason is the emphasis that comes from doing it as a live specifically. There's a particular extra emphasis added when people are there and we're doing it in public, and that trains the brain. And now we're taking your notes and you like really expanding those notes because there's a lot of extra emphasis and emotional importance. That being live, it adds emotion, adds emphasis. We're
Yes.
leveraging
Yes.
emphasis,
Yes.
right?
Addressing people is
Right,
always yes.
right. So we're gonna
Yes.
we're gonna
But I
leverage.
might. I'm not sure that. I'm,
I'm
okay.
listening.
So, but I'm not sure that I will share my personal stories live. I'm not sure about
No,
this.
no
But
matter. No,
I.
you share
Yeah.
whatever's comfortable. You can share what.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
You sharing your takeaways. You saying, in a sense, like, wow,
Yes.
this was what was important for me. This connected to my brain. It doesn't have to be what's important to you, valuable. You can just say, wow, you know what? This like opened up a whole bunch of questions for me. When I heard that, it's like, man, I started
Yes.
thinking like, how does that work? What did that mean to me? That doesn't make sense. Wow, that was really different. It doesn't have to be solutions. It could be questions, right? Could be doubts. You can say,
Okay.
man, I was like really doubting
Okay.
this.
Okay.
I thought about that.
Yes.
So it's your experience, your inner what we're
You
sharing.
know that I'm a big mouth. I will say.
Exactly. You sharing your inner experience. It's the inner journey
Yes.
that we're looking
Okay.
to share, because the group
Okay.
is about self-awareness, self-improvement, and self-discovery, right? So
Okay.
that's the intent that we're sharing. We're sharing your inner growth, your inner change, your inner process,
Okay.
what was going on inside you. Your notes are hopefully going to be about what went inside you. So I'm hoping in the notes you also made, like if you had a question, you said, well, I don't understand this question mark, you know what I mean? Or like, what the hell is this all about? I don't get this. You must make notes of
Okay.
that too, right?
I do ask regularly. I ask you questions like,
Yeah, I know.
you-
You're very good on that. I love that. That's to me, it's a profound joy, because when you ask me questions, you ask them earnestly, and that's a power. It leverages me. You have to understand that that you can pull stuff out of me. What you need to know, just ask earnestly, and it will pull it out of me. I might not have had the
yes.
answer before you ask the question. When you ask the question, it will bring that answer out of me. It's just the way I'm set up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
There's
It's a
a magic
pleasure.
to it. There's a magic to it. Oh, I love
And
it. I love it.
today's discussion was a whole bounty. Yes.
Yes, it was a full bounty. Yes, always. There's always more. It's very exciting. Brilliant, brilliant, Beena. And thank you for reminding me about the recording. And that was very
Yes,
useful.
because it is really important
Very
for me.
useful. Oh, for me
Thank
too.
you so
I
much.
love it, because I like going over them as well, and they're huge for me. Because I like. I mean, what was I
There are
saying to
so
Beena
many
again?
things.
I
It's
like
been
when I listen to it. It's like me
yeah,
hearing it for the first time sometimes as well. It's like, wow, okay, wow, that was pretty cool. I learned from what I say myself. So because you put it out of me, so it's
because we both are visionary, revolutionary visionary
exactly.
people.
Yep, 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 yep,
So
yep,
these
yep,
things just come into our mind.
yep,
So
yep.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
have
so
lots
much.
of
My
overlap.
friends are waiting.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
mean, my day is a different
Okay.
day, but I have that overlap with you. Absolutely. Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank
I
you
love
so.
it. I
And
and
and sir, if you don't mind,
what's that?
I need that the link of that site you just posted about myself, about the 6 June people.
Oh,
You
oh,
posted.
oh. You mean about your
If
day?
you'd like to share. Yes. I
Uh,
just want.
yes.
I need the.
That's very easy. It's snl.me.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, it's
Thank you so much.
it's Secret Language Network, and then
Oh
.me.
yes.
Yeah, I'll put it
Okay.
in the chat there. You got it?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right. And
Thank you.
you know what? I'll actually put all of this. Let me see if I can copy it all, and I'll put it in your Facebook chat, because this chat disappears. Where's
Sorry. Sorry.
the Facebook one
Okay.
does?
She's on hold. Oh my god. Okay. Sir. Uh,
Was that
we
your
will
baby?
talk later.
Your
She's on
daughter?
hold. Where's the voice?
Beena? Is that your child? Your daughter?
No, not no.
Ah, that's easy. But
No, she's my friend. She's my friend, and I just put her on hold. I didn't know that.
oh, oh.
She was waiting here. That she's
Oh,
now she's laughing.
well, put your video on for a second.
No, but she's on hold. Hina,
No, I said put your
I'm
put your
going to call
video
you
on
again.
for a second.
Oh my god.
She's on a call, not there with you in
Yeah.
person.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh,
she's
oh,
on call.
oh! Wow, that's interesting that I could actually hear her. That's fascinating. How did that work?
Okay.
So sorry, I want to understand
Uh,
quickly before you go. She called you on via
okay.
the computer, right?
On WhatsApp. On WhatsApp. Yes. On
Ah,
another app, WhatsApp. She called me,
wow.
and somehow I just put her on hold, and she's here and she's listening. She was listening, and she's still listening.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, she's welcome. And when we have these sessions, if somebody's interested in what we're talking and you want them to join, and you want to share, welcome. I mean, in future, Beena, if you do want to share like this, I don't know,
Yes, I will
uh,
definitely.
you can then share the Zoom link, and then we can do
Yes, yes.
that's because I can't hear
Okay.
exactly well. I just hear in the background.
Yes.
So, but if you want to share like that, just share the Zoom link with
No, no, no.
today's.
I was not actually sharing this.
No, I know,
She just
I know
called.
you didn't mean to, but if you mean to, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You want to.
Okay. Okay. Yes, definitely. But not everybody has that patience and
No, I
can
know,
say,
I know, I know, I know.
yeah,
It's not for everyone.
I don't
But
want
yeah,
to
in
use.
case you want to, in case you want to. Brilliant. All right, bye bye,
Okay.
Beena.
Thank you
I'll
so
talk
much,
to
sir.
you
Thank you
never
so
again.
much.
Yes. All
Bye.
right.
Take
Bye.
care.
Yeah,
And
you too. Bye
yes,
bye.
and I will post. I will post soon,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I will continue course by
Yeah.
myself today.
Bye. Right. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
we will.
That post is.
Okay.
Think of that post as writing the story of Beena. You're writing a book, really, literally.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a
Yes,
long. It's a
yes, I
very long
am.
book. A very long book. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I know that. It must be.
It's a
Thank you
profound.
so much,
It's a
sir. Thank you
profound
so
book.
much.
Yeah. Pleasure. Bye bye, Beena. Bye.
Oh, yeah.